And a very good morning. You're welcome along to Thursday morning's OTB AM. We're here with you all the way until 9:30 this morning. If you've got anything you want to get off your chest sporting-wise, feel free to get involved in the conversation. Just use the hashtag OTB AM if you're on Twitter, or of course you can just drop us a comment in any of the streams that you're watching this on. We're on youtube.com/offtheball. We're on facebook.com/offtheball. And we're also, of course, broadcasting live on Periscope. If you want to just listen to us as a radio show in the mornings, then the best place to do that now is on offtheball.com. And you can just click the listen button at the top of the website. You can log on digitally, on your mobile, of course, and it's the same there. Big fat listen button. You can click it with your big fat fingers. Morning to you, Owen. How are you?
How are you, Ger?
You're a bit bleary this morning, are you?
I'm not bleary at all. How are you?
You were up late watching Love Island.
Love Island, watching the football, watching the Nations League unfold.
Mostly watching Love Island, though,
Mostly
right?
watching the Nations League highlights this morning, to be quite honest with you.
What time is Love Island on? I need to, calibrate my expectations about how alive you're going to be in the morning.
It's only 9 o'clock.
For an hour.
For an hour.
All right.
Who knows
You get up at like 3:30 in the morning, so 9 o'clock that's way past your bedtime.
Way past my bedtime. You've got to get that 2-hour nap in the evening time if you want to actually get on top of it. I do think tonight, England versus the Netherlands is just about going to pip it. Unfortunately.
I don't believe you.
Stabbing it in the back with immediate effect, but
you've got it hooked into your veins, and it's coursing through, and it's the coming up scene in Trainspotting.
It's the greatest thing that's ever been created. Yeah, it's you are kind of enraptured by what you're actually watching.
So what is it?
What a loaded question. Have you ever seen an episode of this?
I've never seen an episode of Love Island.
This is the thing, I think that we're kind of behind the curve a little bit. You're clearly behind the curve a little bit more than I am, because I think last year was the year it kind of exploded onto the scene for a lot of people, whereas we were actually watching football last summer for a lot of the year. So we've had a couple of days now to actually kind of settle into it. It is kind of what it says in the tin. It's an island where there is...
really? Is it really what it says in the tin? I mean, is there lots of love, or is there lots of shagging?
The aim of... Well, it depends what your definition of love is, I guess.
Yeah.
If your definition of love is... I don't know. It depends on what your definition is. But certainly it's an island, and the aim of the game is to find love on said island. And all the people who are on this island are in their 20s. They are...
some of them are teenagers, though, right? No?
Yeah, some of them are in their late teens, and they're all in extremely good shape, and for the most part extremely good looking, and it's kind of it's sickening to watch it, really, but in a very jealous way, and I'm completely open to saying that.
It's a game show?
Sort of. As in,
somebody wins at the end?
Yeah,
so it's
a couple wins at the end. So the game of the game is to find love, Ger. If you're not finding love, you are not going to make it to the very end of this competition.
So this is kind of like a cross between Survivor and The Bachelor.
Well, exactly. More Survivor than Bachelor, really, if you're of that point of view. A game show, really, is probably how you could put it. Like, they played a game the other night where it was called Sliding Into Your DMs, one of your favourite phrases, of course, where a contestant lubes himself up, slides face forward down a slide, and they find a little tablet in kind of a bowl of paint.
Covered in lube, and has to use a tablet.
More, yeah, and then they have to kind of wipe the lube away from the tablet. And on the tablet there is like a message written about somebody. The most polite one I could say is this person's favourite movie is The Notebook. And then for no apparent reason, they then shift the face off somebody of the opposite sex, and that is how they signify that they think it is that person whose favourite movie is The Notebook. So the concept, as you can imagine, is mind-blowing and very hard to get your head around.
Right. You love it, though?
Yeah, of course I do.
Okay.
It's the greatest show ever made.
All right.
But I will be choosing England, Netherlands. I kind of regret not choosing Portugal, Switzerland, not really, last night.
We have a very busy show for you coming up on the show this morning. We're going to do transfer talk around 7:50, our deal or no deal, our good idea, bad idea, that's coming your way after the sports page, which we'll get to in just 1 minute time. Mitten Donna is Diego Maradona as interviewed by Andy Mitten. The new movie is out. We're going to be giving away tickets to that a little bit later on. Your chance to go and see the documentary made by the same people who made Senna and the Amy Winehouse documentary. And Andy Mitten has been down there to interview him. We will also just sneakily stick in a question about the farrago that is Manchester United at the moment. And then Shot Clock coming your way around about 25 minutes past 8 with Kieran Donaghy. We've interviewed Conor Hourihane in the aftermath of a brilliant couple of months for him. obviously scoring for Ireland against Georgia at the Aviva after the tennis balls, and then helping to fire Aston Villa back into the Premier League. Really interesting guy. He's 28 and he's finally making his way to the Premier League, so we'll talk to him a little bit later on as well. The power rankings are back. Owen Sheehan has been stewing all night after he watched Love Island to bring you this week's power rankings, and sports news with Phil coming your way around about 9:05. An update, of course, on how we're getting on in our triathlon challenge coming your way a little bit later on as well. Stay tuned for that. You don't want to miss what Owen has done now. Time for the papers. Gonna start with the Examiner this morning. The devil we know. Jurgensen says same old Ireland will settle for a draw, and he's right. He knows this all too well. Cork ace Horgan would love to overhaul the tip man he calls the best ever. It's Owen Kelly. Spoiler alert. Tommy Martin, Yorkshire man, the blunt superhero Ireland needs right now. It's a good column today from Tommy Martin talking about how in a time of crisis like we're currently experiencing with the FAI, that there is no one better than Big Mick to lead us through that. Game changer, women's soccer set for World Cup boom, but inequality lingers. Ed Cullen, teams need a momentum killer to have a fighting chance. And Ronnie's regret. Ronnie O'Sullivan's been talking about how he should never have become a snooker player. It led to panic attacks, and how he doesn't actually have depression in real life. It's just that it's associated with his snooker game. We'll talk about that a little bit later as well.
The Irish Daily Star leads with long Chris goodbye. Ericsson contract talks have become real problem for Danes. I'm not quite sure if I buy this, that Christian Eriksen is actually saying the long goodbye just yet. You've also got an exclusive from Paul Lennon here saying Dortmund aiming to pip United to €10 million Irish kid. So this is the story around Nathan Collins of Stoke, who of course finished the season basically starting for Stoke City at centre half. He's only 17 years old, worth about 10 million quid. He could be on the way to Manchester United. According to Paul Lennon here, it depends on Darren Fletcher actually getting the role as technical director, but it seems that Dortmund are interested as well, which would be quite the exciting move from his perspective. You pick Borussia Dortmund.
Don't you?
You have to, especially in that position.
Now, the only thing is you might not speak German. Like if he speaks German, or if he's got pidgin, whatever the junior cert's now called, German, then go for it. But you would need fairly intense lessons because the football language is all going to be in German, right?
Yeah, exactly.
To make it, having gone through that, that's a stunning achievement.
It is. You would imagine, though, that the situation within that Manchester United find themselves in at the moment is just a little bit higher pressure than the situation that Borussia Dortmund find themselves in.
Now, the other side of that is that they've got no good centre backs, really. Like, you're looking at Phil Jones.
That's kind of the point.
You're looking at Phil Jones, you're going, I could take that.
As a 17-year-old, is that what you want?
No, but of
course you got to have that ambition.
So I think you make the bench pretty quickly, is my point. They're not going to put you in on day one of the season and say, this is our guy for the rest of it. But you're getting game time, you're getting far more first-team access there than you would do at Manchester City if you went, for example. Yeah,
for sure. Like, I mean, you do, though, look at, say, someone like Jadon Sancho and his move to Dortmund. Granted, his profile was a lot higher than Nathan Collins's, and in a different position as well, which is, I guess, a little bit easier. A bit less communication, I guess. You can play a bit off the cuff a little bit more in Jadon Sancho's position. So it's not exactly comparing like with like, but I'm sure he would look at him and say to himself, well, actually, it's not a completely bizarre possibility that I could go there and do okay.
No.
The other story on the back of the Irish Daily Star is hacker attack rocks the FAI. So this was a serious attack by an external hacker which has floored the FAI's email system. So the organisation had been unable to receive or send emails since last Saturday following the breach of its antivirus protection. It happened last Friday night and affected personal computers and laptops belonging to staff. So not ideal timing either.
No. I mean, this is an interesting story, right? Who is hacking the FAI and why at this point?
Do we have our own little version of football leaks here in Ireland?
No, I mean, and what did they find? It's going to be pretty interesting. I mean, Owen obviously buried the lead, not paying attention to Tab of the Morning to you.
Ah, there you go.
Off the wall.
Featuring Andy Lee. That's
the proud moment for you and the family.
Well, it is. It's huge for us, really. I just don't like to push our kind of ego to the front that much. This is about sport this morning. This is not about Game of Thrones. I don't want to live in the shadow of the wall this morning. So
the Irish Daily Star sub-editors are clearly fans of Off the Wall, the Off the Ball Game of Thrones podcast, which is still riding relatively high considering Game of Thrones is now a thing in our rear
redundant now.
And then it's obviously it's about Trump and whatever. He hadn't a clue about. I really wanted to come to the UK because I've got a great relationship with you guys. You're in Ireland, you prick. Cluxton brings up the century. Stephen's not special, he just works harder. He is special though. Is the story of Cluxton's 100 caps. 100th appearance. Will turn up heat. Duffy insists Ericsson will be put under pressure this time. I mean, would have been an idea last time to put him under a bit of pressure, lads, considering he's Christian Eriksen and he was going to kill us if we gave him the opportunity to. And boy, did we give him plenty of opportunity. And Jurgensen expecting same dull Irish tactics. They're really provoking us into coming out and trying to attack them, but we're not stupid. We're going to sit back, batten down the hatches and scrape a nil all.
Yeah, I'm not sure what they're expecting to do here, trying to lull Glenwhelan out and get him to do keepy uppies or something in the middle of the game. That is not going to happen. They're banging the money. They're dead right. No. And Jurgensen actually points to the fact that, it's no problem for us because we tend to come out in front of our fans and play particularly well. We've actually done all right in Copenhagen or in our house. And it's turned out that we actually prefer playing there than we would in Dublin, for example, after that famously horrifying night.
Yeah, that was a grim enough night.
I think Tab of the morning to you goes to the Sun. Shane, Dane, Payne was a drain, but Duffy's looking up now. That's in relation to we just keep going with the Trump ones. There's no off the wall ones here. It's just the West Wing with a H at the end. So we should actually just do a West Wing podcast and call it the West Wing and just kind of steal something back from the newspapers. Struggle is Real, says the headline here on Christian Eriksen, and no evidence Kildare can put it up to the Dubs, says Collie Moran. 1-1 now. Keane O'Neill will appear on the Dubs dressing room. Collie Moran's son Colin will appear on the Kildare dressing room.
He's right though. There's no evidence. There isn't.
Where's your evidence for that?
Yeah, where's your evidence for that? There is none. So the Irish Times this morning, Duffy says Ireland must take the game to Denmark, and that's Shane Duffy about to hoof the ball past Christian Eriksen, and it looks like, it wasn't the Diviva. was that interregnum between us going 1-0 up and us being crushed 5-1? That brief 15 minutes where...
I'm still riding high off that, to be quite honest.
Dream. British-Irish bid for World Cup 2030 facing China challenge. English FA and Ireland have been considering joint bid for at least a year. So, so Gianni Infantino was yesterday reappointed as FIFA's Grand Poobah, and he was talking at that point about a potential Chinese bid to host the World Cup in 2030. So you kind of think that he's taking the opportunity on his re-election to go, come on now, China, come on.
But he's basically just got up there and changed the rules.
Did he?
Because they're in the same confederation as Qatar.
Oh, so they can't have
you
two
have to, or whatever the exact parameters are. Maybe it's within two World Cups. So Infantino is like, we'll make an exception for China. Just casually, I've been reappointed president. I'm going to take liberties to actually change the rule book here. And China, feel free to gazump Ireland and the UK. I would much prefer Beijing in July.
Would you?
I'm saying what Infantino is saying.
Oh, okay, sorry, yeah. Best match
I would prefer Beijing to Dublin.
Would you for a World Cup?
Yeah.
I know. We gotta have a World Cup, come on. I mean, it's like a complete flight of fancy and it's going to cost us probably more money than it's worth, but...
Well, the thing is, we probably would need to qualify for the Chinese World Cup, which is...
Yeah, exactly, yeah.
That's an issue I didn't actually consider.
Best makes case for enlarging World Cup squad, so Rory Best says the squad size should be increased from 31 to 35 for the tournament in Japan. It's probably not going to happen. And Stan Wright was the player who... it turns out was the ex-Leinster player who knocked out an academy player. It was academy player Jack Dunn, and the Irish Times are printing that today, so that was the first time I'd seen that in print. Maybe it had already, but I'm not sure. Leinster closed investigation into Wright's punch. Leinster's investigation into a former player punching a current academy player has concluded to the satisfaction of all parties. The Irish Times understands that former Leinster prop Stan Wright, 40, knocked current Leinster Academy player Jack Dunn unconscious at a private team function in the Intercontinental Hotel during the early hours of Sunday, May the 26th. An internal investigation was carried out by Leinster Rugby, which has concluded to the satisfaction of all parties, and we will not be making any further comment on the incident other than to confirm that the player in question received medical attention and that he's made a full recovery. That's not good. I mean, it completely takes the shine off Leinster's 10-year celebrations when you have a grown man who's 40 punching a 20-year-old.
The Irish Independent this morning leads with, we all know how Ireland will play. That's the Danes' claim. Just to recap on some of these comments, I'm not sure did you actually get to this one. Look, there are two wins, 1-0 over Gibraltar and Georgia. That shows Ireland are the same team we faced over the past 2 years. Our main priority will be to watch Shane Duffy from set pieces. Once again, not wrong. A couple of other stories here in the back of the Indo. Pursoon says Taylor doesn't have the guts to fight me. In Belgium, there's been an offer of 300 grand, an optimistic one, admittedly by the Belgians, for Taylor to travel for that rematch. And Tribe hope to rush Canning back to fill leadership void. So serious concerns over a steep decline in performance levels have left Micheál Donoghue poised to make several changes for this Sunday's match with Kilkenny. It'll probably come too soon for Joe Canning, but Saturday week when they go to Parnell Park to face Dublin, which could be a crucial game in terms of their survival in the All-Ireland final, Donoghue might look to Joe Canning to come back quickly.
The Mirror, the most annoying team in football. Danish ace Delaney blasts Ireland's defensive style ahead of Crunch Euro tie. So this is the same comments basically that he's been making for a while. Denmark ace Thomas Delaney claims the Republic of Ireland are the most annoying team in international football. The Dortmund midfielder is sick of the sight of the boys in green and insists the 5-1 World Cup playoff hammering counts for nothing tomorrow. Well, it certainly put us on warning. It would be some turnaround if we could get something better than a draw. Hackers target FAI computer systems. This is the cyber hackers have tricked their way into the FAI servers. Tottenham demand 130 million as Ericsson dreams of Real. And then this horrific story, Zaha outrage. In nearly every game, I'm racially abused, and I'm not going to use the terms that he uses, but Wilfried Zaha has revealed the shocking extent of the racist abuse that he faces almost every time he walks on the pitch. Opening up on the scale of the problem, the Crystal Palace star says he's constantly called names from the stands. You can work them out for yourself. A series of high-profile incidents at matches involving the likes of Sterling, Aubameyang, and now it turns out Wilfried Zaha and Salah have been part of a worrying rise in race hate during the season. Zaha did an interview with a magazine called The Jackal. Imagine if I really got down about that. I don't know if we're animals to them or whatever. Why is this okay? Why are you saying these things right next to your 5-year-old kid? And then, when you leave, what, you're back to being a normal dad, working a normal job? People mask this stuff. I didn't realise that, because so much gets made of individual incidents that we're always given the impression they're just individual incidents. It's a few bad apples, but actually, this is a wildfire within English society at the moment, and it will be within Irish society if we're not very careful. And people like Wilfried Zaha coming out and saying this is happening on a regular basis have to be listened to, and this has to become one of the most important stories of the off-season. And stuff has to be done about it that doesn't just involve the clubs. The fans need to police themselves, and they need to be the ones who are saying to their fellow supporters of the same team that is not acceptable behaviour, because unless everybody stands up to this, nobody will. That's how these things work. So, I don't know, I just really hope that Wilfried Zaha's story gets listened to and gets amplified the way it needs to be.
The Racing Post this morning leads with Guineas heroine Hermosa rerouted to Ascot. So that's Hermosa who's now going to run the Coronation Stakes at Royal Ascot. And the back page of the Racing Post is cutting loose. Semi-final rivals unlikely to hold back in Portugal. It's the Netherlands against England at 7:45 this evening.
Yeah, the Guardian also leading with that. Gareth Gamble. Southgate set to rest Champions League 7 with Sterling ready for 50th cap. He was a very young man to be winning 50 caps, but obviously it's a clear sign of his importance to the England team. And then they've got stories about the England Women's World Cup team. Anyway, they're called the Lionesses. Is that the worst nickname in world sport? The Lionesses?
Yeah, it is, for sure.
Ronaldo steals the show again to steer Portugal into final. So that's Cristiano Ronaldo on all the back pages after his hat-trick last night, on several of the front pages as well. I've got one more for you. It's the Irish Daily Mail, and it's Let's Win Ugly. Duffy's happy to dog it out against the Danes, and a picture of Cristiano Ronaldo having scored his hat-trick yesterday. He was also in the news because Bloomberg had yesterday reported that the case against him after involving an alleged rape had been dropped, but actually the plaintiff's lawyer did issue a clarifying statement to say that the case in fact had not been dropped, that they'd put the case in two separate courts. One was a federal case and the other one was the court that they had removed that action from. It was a procedural thing, really, just to make sure that they needed to find who was going to have jurisdiction. That had been established, and so the case, as it stands, will continue. Yeah.
That was the thing that came out. Basically, state case not going ahead, but the federal case is. So there was a bit of confusion there yesterday, especially after that Bloomberg piece, but it seems that that's been cleared up a little bit. Just on, like, when you say the Lioness is worst name in the world, I was trying to rack my brains as to one that is worse. I actually can't think of one, but I ended up obviously thinking of the one that's the best nickname for an international team, and it is the Tall Blacks, the New Zealand basketball team, which is kind of unstoppable. I really can't think of anything worse than the Lionesses.
There was a brief time when their New Zealand badminton team, do you know what they were called?
No.
The Black Cocks.
I see what you did there.
I didn't do it.
Well,
I just told the story. I didn't do it.
Prove it.
No, you can Google that on your phone, preferably, as opposed to one of the actual work computers on. Anyway, that was the other, and then but there are good ones. The Indomitable Lions. That's like a proper classic.
It's almost too good, really. You can't laugh at the Indomitable Lions.
No. Why should life just be a joke? Why can't it just be? I love these people. They're great. The Cameroon football team. Come on. I'm going to give you an opportunity to enter our competition today before we talk about some of the stories in the papers. We're running this competition in conjunction with Brian Thomas in advance of Father's Day. So we've been asking people all week, and we've been getting a slew of beautiful stories in from people about their favourite sporting memories with their dads, all sorts of different ones. It can be your first one, it can be your best one, it can be whatever you want, and you can hit us up on any of our social channels. So this is all in conjunction with the Brian Thomas sunglasses promotion, which is on now until the 9th of June, which is this Sunday in all Brian Thomas stores, and of course also on brianthomas.com. Right now you can receive 20% off the biggest selection of sunglasses at Brian Thomas and brianthomas.com. Father's Day at Brian Thomas for everything he really wants. This is what great gifting really looks like. Give him the perfect pair of shades this Father's Day. And today we're giving you the chance to win a pair of €250 worth of sunglasses. To enter, share your first or best memory of going to a sports event with your dad, mum, aunt, uncle, guardian, whoever it is that you want, and we'll run you through some of those. We've already had some entries from from this morning. Issel Cody says, greatest sporting memory with dad. In fact, when he showed trust in my ability to send updates from the Munster final last year when he was stuck at the golf in Scotland and insisted I go solo to Cork on the hottest day of the year to mark a programme before telling me I did a good job, in inverted commas. And she's also helpfully screen grabbed the messages about the details. And it sounds like it was a bit of a classic. Final score is 3-18 to 2-4. You're going to be back in Tipperary before I get to Dublin. So that is dedication. It's dedication to the cause. Anything in the papers today caught your eye?
We'll get into the transfers in just a moment. The Danish stuff, as we've been speaking about, really is the one. I never asked you yesterday what your earliest memory is of that one, or how do you want to get into it?
I talked about the All-Ireland final in Thurles in 1984. See, the show continues in your absence, you know, when you're all swanning around the world.
I'm going to watch it when I'm away.
We'd already done that one. So I was at the Centenary All-Ireland Hurling final. It was my first one, 1984.
It's a good one to guess. It's not bad. We'll come back to a couple of these. I mean, the Danish stuff, really, it's kind of leading the way in all the newspapers. And you do have to kind of ask yourself the question whether or not it is actual mind games, or whether or not it's just them being like, we actually couldn't even care less about Ireland. We have such little respect for them that this actually isn't mind games. We're just speaking what we think because we're not even worried about making them angry.
Yeah, I think there's a bit of that, isn't there? There's like a boredom factor has set in with them. Whereas so they beat us so spectacularly at home that they sent the football culture into shock. They ended the career effectively, I mean, that was already over, of Martin O'Neill. Like, they don't know that they've been this kind of central character in our history because they never think about us. It's kind of,
they look upon us like we look upon Georgia.
Exactly, yeah, we're like, the Georgians are kind of angry and upset about us, kind of going, well, you know, they're not really important, are they? And the Danes are a bit like, Ireland, come on, stop boring us.
It's kind of like having something stuck at the bottom of your shoe, but you've got no hands and you can't get rid of the thing at the bottom of your shoe. That's the thing. You're just stuck with this for a while longer, but it doesn't actually affect your quality of life.
Exactly.
You will walk it off very, very shortly. That's how the Danes view us, which is something that you'd love to stick it to them. You'd love to say the most annoying team in football now. Who is the most annoying team in football? To someone like Thomas Delaney, who, of course, yesterday hated playing. Like, is that not a really big compliment, saying that we are the most annoying team in football? Like the idea that...
Wouldn't you like to be like the best passing team or the most free-flowing or the best
We're never going to be that
team, wouldn't you? Well, we might be under Stephen Kenny. Why not, you know?
I want Ireland to be the most something.
Yeah.
Like, as long as it's not the most crap or the most embarrassing.
It is, though, at the moment.
I would take most annoying any day of the week over a lot of other adjectives.
Yeah, okay, fair enough. I like the way
Give me a superlative and
Kieran,
I will
low
take it.
expectations on, but right, we're going to go through our transfer talk. This is time for a good idea, bad idea, deal or no deal. What do they say when, you know, a love match happens on Love Island? What's the...
It's a good question.
Is there like a term for it?
A love match is an
ding.
interesting one. They should use that term, actually. You should get involved with the show.
No. Transfer talk. Champions League champions Liverpool have joined the race to sign Ajax and Netherlands defensive tyro Matthijs de Ligt. Should he ignore basket kicks Manchester United and a regressing Barca side to join the 6-time European champions? Deal or no deal?
Should he ignore Manchester United to join Liverpool?
And Barcelona.
Yes. He should absolutely have Manchester United at the very bottom of that list of particular candidates.
Is there nobody who thinks that joining Man United, one of the biggest clubs in the world, and being the saviour is actually a good thing? And also, Alexis Sanchez money? Alexis Sanchez money.
Speaking of the Alexis Sanchez money, I'm not sure if that's actually going to be any bit more significant than what he would get at, say, Liverpool or Juventus, because Mino Raiola has been out and he's been speaking and he personally favours a move to Liverpool or Juventus for De Ligt. So can you guess what two clubs might be paying the biggest agents fees there? Probably Liverpool or Juventus. If they're paying the biggest agents fees, they're probably willing to spend Alexis Sanchez money. They're willing to do something stupid with their wallet, which is maybe, you know, paying a teenager huge amounts of money. I don't think it'll be stupid from a Liverpool perspective whatsoever. I think they can nurture this guy, put him beside his countryman and turn him into a world-class centre-half. The thing is, with Manchester United, put him into the starting team there. He needs to be a world-class centre-half next season. Otherwise, it will be viewed as a bust. That time will be there for him at Liverpool.
So, you're saying go to Liverpool, take a bit less money and...
1 Liverpool, 2 Barcelona, 3 Manchester United. Of those teams, I would have Juventus ahead of Manchester United even in that group as well.
I want a bonus question here, and I'm going to hold you to this. How much will the transfer fee be for Matthijs de Ligt?
£90 million. So, reportedly, Juventus have tabled a £75 million offer. So that is the only one that we have out there that is an exact number, and I think that is market value.
They're pounds or euros?
Pounds. So we're talking a €100 million transfer here.
You've got a lot of cash, don't they?
They really do.
They're a league that was like, oh, we've got no TV deal, we've got no fans, we've got no money. They're like, spend 100 million on Cristiano, spend this on De Ligt, in for Pogba.
It will probably get to a point. Like the reason why they're spending all this money is that they're like, oh, we actually need to supplement the Ronaldo money with some other pieces around him to actually ensure we win the Champions League with this guy next season. Like it kind of gets to a stage where they've got 1 or 2 more years of actually utilising the best that they have here, which is Ronaldo close to his peak. So I think it'd be a great offer from Juve as well.
Since we last discussed the story, reports have suggested that Juve will up the ante to bring Pogba back to Serie A, while counter reports also claim Manchester United are closing up shop and will not sell. A one-word answer: who will Paul Pogba play for when the 2019-2020 season kicks off and the transfer window shuts?
Juventus.
All right, there you have it. Breaking news. Owen has confirmed that Paul Pogba is joining Juventus. I'm going to write that down.
Got Mino Raiola on the line this morning.
Juventus. David Beckham wants to sign Barcelona and Uruguay striker Luis Suarez for his new MLS side, Inter Miami. Is it too early for the Uruguayan to go to the MLS, aged 32? Is there a Premier League club who should try and hijack that deal?
Yes and yes. Like, he scored 21 goals in La Liga last season. Granted, he turns 33 next season. It's a winding road downhill here from Luis Suarez, and there's no question that he is on that way downhill. He's close to getting to that cliff. I think he's
a cliff player. I think he's like a wind down slowly, still be scoring and still playing and enjoying football in the MLS at 40 before he's won last season back in Uruguay.
Well, maybe cliff might be a little bit harsh, considering it has actually winded down for the last four or five consecutive years. When he had that 40 goal season, he scored, as I say, 21 last year. Like any Premier League team would take him outside the top 6. Now, which teams inside the top 6 would take him? The thing is, you think about what would it require to actually get Luis Suarez to come on board. A 3-year contract maybe is what his agent will be pushing, and give me, what would it be, 250 grand a week? Are you going to pay that for somebody who turns 33 next year, given the huge body of evidence we have that a lot of these transfers are complete disasters when you give an old guy a big fat contract? So the perfect candidate
Man United
would be Manchester United, but who is the perfect candidate to hopefully learn from their mistakes? it is also Manchester United. So I'm not sure could I ever see that happening. Also, I seem to think that from the comments before the Champions League semi-final, that Luis Suarez actually kind of does have a bit of a graw for Liverpool. That I'm not sure would he actually join a City or Manchester United. Then again, you know,
celebrated the goal. Happy. Does he score more than the 83 MLS goals that Robbie Keane scored? More or less? Luis Suarez winning.
If he goes now and stays for 3 years, 4 years, 83 goals.
Yeah, but yeah.
That's a remarkable record.
Yeah, Robbie Keane went at just the right time.
Yeah. God, that is a tough one. Just if you give him 3 seasons, I was just about to say yes, he will.
Okay. All right. So Suarez in 2 years will go and spend 3 years and finish at 38. Mm-hmm. Okay, so it's not beyond the bounds possibility. Inter Miami.
Well, it's Kenmare's team is Inter Kenmare.
I mean, but that's obviously, fine because they're Kenmare. This is like a hyper global brand from Miami.
Well, all brands are the same to me. You still call your team something.
I don't know. It's just I'm not sure. It's not the coolest name you could have come up with.
Like you could have come up with something else. What would you come up with?
I don't know. The Miami footballs, whatever. Like.
It's not very. It doesn't very. It doesn't speak very much like Miami to me.
Internazionale. What language is it?
It is Italian, isn't it? I have no idea.
But what's the link with Miami? I mean,
football. Football is the link. Football is a global language.
Real Salt Lake is Royal Salt Lake in Spanish. Mm-hmm. Also, a stupid name.
The Mormons love their royalty.
Well, I mean, maybe they do. Okay, so did that one earlier in the week. Tottenham chairman Daniel Levy has told Real Madrid Denmark midfielder Christian Eriksen, 27, is not for sale, but the Dane has hinted that he's ready for a new challenge. I think he actually said, I'm ready for a new challenge. Considering that he may be in the shop window, could Ireland be collateral damage if the midfielder needs to impress suitors tomorrow night?
Yes, very much so. If he that Ireland could be collateral damage, but I'm not sure if he actually is trying to impress suitors. He will want to play well to impress his own employer. The idea that he wants a new challenge, I think that comes straight out of the Maurizio Pochettino skill in negotiating. I think Christian Eriksen deep down wants to stay at Tottenham.
Do you?
I think so.
Then would you not just say, I'd like to stay, but they need to pay me more money?
No, because that way you play one of your cards on the negotiating table in public.
Yeah, it's a fair point. You don't say that. You say, I want to join Real Madrid.
Well, you could be a bit more blunt about it, but then you could actually be a little bit too mean. You've got to strike that balance, and Christian Eriksen is trying to gently put it to Tottenham that he wants to have a good old negotiation with them.
Okay, so, bonus question. Will he score against Ireland, yes or no?
Yes.
All right.
Hot take right there. World-class player scores against non-world-class opposition.
Is it going to be 0-0 draw, though?
It'll probably be 1-0.
Christian Eriksen winner.
Yeah.
All right. Arsenal boss Unai Emery has made Barcelona's France defender Samuel Umtiti, 25, his preferred defensive target this summer. As an Arsenal fan, do you want to see this deal happen?
Umtiti, well, he's got the two most important traits for an Arsenal defender. He is extremely inconsistent and he's extremely injury prone. So I think he'd be a perfect addition to Arsenal. He would be a great addition. He'd be a great signing for any Europa League team. The thing is, you could go back to the De Ligt signing of Barcelona, sign him. Then you've got a bit of a queue. You've got Longley, you've got Piqué, you've got De Ligt, all ahead of Samuel Umtiti. He doesn't want to leave Barcelona, but Barcelona will end up pushing him out because they'll have 5 centre-backs. At that point, Arsenal should pick up the pieces there in all seriousness, but it's not exactly an earth-shattering signing.
Final one for now. Everton captain and defender Phil Jagielka could be moving north of the border when he leaves Everton later on this month. The 36-year-old is reportedly a target for Celtic. Would this be a coup for the Celts, and will it happen? Or will he join Rangers and stay in blue?
Phil Jagielka being a coup for anybody at this point is a fairly ridiculous notion. He turns 37 in August. Celtic have won 1 million Premiership titles in Scotland at this point. It's not a coup, it's a good signing. They should do it. Phil Jagielka obviously would be a good person to have around the club. He's got a lot of experience, but it's not a coup. It's a good signing.
Fair enough. Yeah. Free. I mean, it's not. You're right. It's not a coup. Okay. A quick reminder about the amazing thing that's coming this winter. Off the Ball are heading for some winter sun and some top-class golf, and we want you to join us. The OTB crew, along with special guests Kevin Kilban, Kieran Donaghy, Peter Lorre, and more, are taking on 2 of the best courses on the planet. That's Yas Links and the National for the first ever Off the Ball Open this November. It's 5 nights in a 4-star hotel, a Peter Lorre golf clinic, a gala dinner, and a world-famous OTB roadshow this November 17th to the 23rd in Abu Dhabi. You've got to sign up now at offtheball.com/open. Places are limited in that, so if you want to get some winter sun in, then head over to offtheball.com/open and get the details and get your mates booking now. Up next, we're going to speak with Andy Mitten about his exclusive chat with Diego Maradona. We also have 20 pairs of tickets to Diego Maradona, the new documentary from the director of Senna and Amy, to give away. Keep an eye on our social channels after today's show to be in with a chance to win. The film is out on June 14th, but you could get a chance to go to a special preview screening if you win our competition on social. Now, Andy Mitten, good morning to you. How you doing?
Good morning, I'm fine.
So, traipsing 3/4 of the way around the world to meet Diego Maradona. I guess, like, if you were to go back and ask your 20-year-old self what is one of the most exciting things you could be doing on earth, it would be traipsing 3/4 of the way around the world to interview Diego Maradona.
Without an appointment, by the way.
Right.
And it wasn't my idea. 442's got a new editor-in-chief, James Brown, and he was the man behind Loaded in the 1990s. And he rang me up in February and said, "Why have you stopped doing stuff for 442?" And I hadn't made a conscious decision. I'd written for that magazine for 18 years, and I just done less this season for them. And he said, I'm going to be editor-in-chief. I want you back in. I want you to be editor-at-large. And it's like being a footballer where your manager says you've got a free role. Where do you want to play? Why is Maradona in Mexico, by the way? And I said, I have no idea. I didn't even know he was there. Yeah, he's in he's at that club where Guardiola used to play. Go and see him. Go and see him. Yeah, but James, Mexico's not like a bus ride away from where we're talking. So I looked into it, and I saw not only was he in Mexico, he was in the most dangerous city in Mexico, the one where the American government and the British government and probably the Irish government says, do not travel to. This is category 4 dangerous. Do not go there. It's the same as Syria. And I spoke to the club, and they said Maradona does no interviews. So he's like Guardiola, he's like Bielsa. He does no one-on-one sit-down interviews, which are the best part of my job, and I'm sure you can relate to this. If you get a good one-on-one, it's fantastic. But please come and write about us. And I'm thinking, with respect to Dorados, they're not quite the name that Maradona is. And I see that the season's going to end. He's probably going to leave the club because he doesn't tend to hang around much. And I see that the season's ending in 2 weeks, so I'm going to miss him. Unless his team wins 6 out of the last 8 games, get into the playoffs, come through the quarterfinals of the playoffs and the semi-finals of the playoffs, then we've got a chance that Maradona is going to be in this city in Sinaloa, which all I've ever associated that word with is narco gangs. And they do all that. And I'm saying to the club, I'm coming. Great, speak to the president, speak to the players. Well, that's fantastic, but with respect, I need to speak to Maradona. Yeah, well, he doesn't do any interviews. So I looked at the travel advice and I thought, what they're going to do, they're going to shoot me as I leave the airport. I'm not in the drugs trade. I'm going to get a cab. I'm going to go to my hotel. And I needed a bit of luck, and I got a bit of luck. His team were playing fantastically well. The players adore him. He's a good manager. Can you believe it? The last time I saw him was heavily intoxicated in the World Cup finals in a private box, being escorted to hospital. And my editor said, I'm sending a war photographer with you from the New York Times. So she came to meet me, and he said, I want you to go to Suarez as well by the border. But that's not even dangerous anymore. Sinaloa is where the real danger is. And I found out that his team had a training session. He was going to be there. I turned up. I find in journalism, if you just turn up, you've got half a chance. And there are so few people who would pay the type of money to send somebody. I really respect the magazine for doing that, because it cost them $5,000, to spend me to send a photographer. And we arrived at the training session, and the players were there, and I put myself about. I did my job. And players are, hey, Manchester. And that one word is a positive with footballers, because they associate it not with rain or music, but with football. And then after an hour, I see Maradona. He can barely walk. He's wearing a cap with an image of that famous Argentinian, Diego Maradona, on his head. And he's invited the ultras of his club along, and they start singing songs to him, and he sits on an ice box and starts dancing away to songs about him. And I speak to lots of people, and the club president comes to speak to me, and we speak for 70 minutes, and we're getting bit by mosquitoes. And this is all great. You're the man who gave Maradona the job, and you're telling me your doubts about Maradona and how pleased you are because he's doing really well, and I can see the players love him. But, I've come a long way, and I won't mind a picture. We need something. Who told you he does no interviews? Well, everyone at the club. Come on. And I'm thinking, I've got half a chance here. He's the president. Have you met his wife, by the way? No. I mean, why would I have met Maradona's wife? Come here. So I go and get introduced to this lady. Where are you from? I'm from England. I've come here to write an article about a man from Buenos Aires called Diego. She laughs. But I said, he doesn't do interviews. I'm sure he'll speak to you. So eventually, after 2 hours, I get led onto the pitch, covered in mosquito bites. President goes up to him. He's sat on a mat. And he looks at me and he sort of waves me over. And he says, I should have had a penalty at Old Trafford in 1984. And actually, he should have done. And we start talking. And he says, I used to support Man United, but now I'm a Manchester City fan. You can't just change clubs. You can't just go from Boca to River. So, but Kun's part of the family, and I speak to him a lot. And the great thing about Guardiola, and he starts rearranging these tactics on the floor, and it's brilliant. So I'm getting a tactical lesson off Diego Maradona here about why Pep Guardiola is so fantastic. And then he starts saying to me about how good Graham Souness was, and how good Brian Robson was, and I said, what brought you to Mexico? I mean, I know you've been here before, because you were in '86, weren't you? Oh, the greatest moment, he said, and he's laughing at me because I'm English. And I'm telling him that I've been to Buenos Aires, where the whole stadium is singing, if you don't dance, you're an Englishman. And really, you've done this? I said, I've done it several times, and it still happens now. The Falklands War is still a huge issue in Argentina. But my backup plan is I'm from Dublin and I'm an Irish tourist. If it ever really comes on top in Argentina, I've only close come once to using the Dublin line. I need to read up on my geography of Dublin a bit more. And I end up chatting to Maradona, and he's fantastic. And he says, the problem with the club you like is that they sell a lot of shirts, but they don't win any trophies. And I am the man to return this club to greatness. And I'm thinking, I'm just smiling because I've got the interview, the job's in the bag. We've got pictures of him reading 442, which the editor's delighted with because his decision to send me has been vindicated. And he comes back, he makes a point of coming back to me saying, I mean what I said. I can get Man United back to greatness. I can become the coach. So I thought, as soon as this comes out, this is just going to be headline news. And the president's shaking his head because he doesn't want to lose his manager. But obviously, Man United may be seen as a step up from Dorados. Not that I think that's going to happen for 1 minute, but I love that style of journalism. I think I love it when you've got an editor who's going to pay you and trust you to do that. I had a brilliant photographer. We went on to do another game there, the CONCACAF final in Monterrey, where we were allowed to travel with the police in riot vans a few days later, and it was fascinating. It's the best job I've done this year. I love writing, I love meeting new people, I love finding out new stories and finding out why on earth Diego Maradona is in the drug capital of the world.
I didn't realise that James Brown had taken the gig at 442, because those of us who are a certain age remember that there was a glory day of Loaded where before it descended and after he left really into basically softcore porn. But at the start it had this kind of, it was like an English version of gonzo journalism properly done for the first time, and it spawned 1,000 imitators. But there was a magic about those first 5, 6, 7 issues.
I totally agree, and the gonzo journalism, James is all for that. James says, put yourself into the story, explain why you're in Sinaloa, and be, embed yourself in the story, get the reader to travel with you. And James is talented. He's brilliant on captions. I've known him for a long time, and too much football journalism is very staid. It's interviews from sponsors where, Gareth Bale says he's happy when he scores goals, and I'm like, come on, we need more than this. If people are paying for a magazine, you need more than this. You need a proper story. And to marry the biggest names with great stories is difficult because they're naturally circumspect. Lionel Messi doesn't really say anything because, one, he focuses on his football, but two, if he does say anything, it's twisted. And even with this Maradona stuff, you just know that there are elements who are going to twist it to have Maradona slamming Paul Pogba. And he wasn't saying that. He was saying he's a great player, just needs to work harder. And you always come back to thinking, is he ever going to just regret thinking, why on earth did I help that journalist out from Manchester? But that's my job to do that, to work within what I think is right to do, to try and get the interviews, to try and get the stories. And I was stood outside the stadium in Sinaloa, and these shifty-looking guys are saying to me, you know, we've had a lot of problems with drugs here, and explaining to me how the narco trade works. And it was absolutely fascinating. And then another saying, baseball's the biggest sport in this Mexican city. And I didn't know anything like as much I should know about Mexico. I travel a lot. I've got a thirst for knowledge, for news, but my knowledge of Mexico at the start was like, yeah, tequila, fajitas, zapatistas, a wall, and I was pleasantly surprised. The Mexican league is extremely wealthy. It's the 5th biggest league in the world. And Maradona found it a release to go there because he was relatively anonymous, because he was in a city where baseball's the biggest sport. He can't live normally in Argentina. He can't go to Napoli. And he was really enjoying himself. And I saw a happy man, one who mentally was as sharp as I've seen him for a long time. Physically, he can't do it. You know, he struggles to walk. But I saw his players. They absolutely love him. One of them had a tattoo on his leg of Diego Maradona. And I'm thinking, you're a goalkeeper. This isn't going to last forever. He's probably going to leave within 6 months. And he took them within a game of promotion to the Mexican top flight. It's almost impossible to get promoted in Mexico. It's a closed shop. And he almost did it. So I was very happy with the story, but it would have been the absolute perfect story if he would have taken them to promotion. But I like that style of journalism. I think it's worth paying for. And all you see now is Maradona, Man United, 500 words. They robbed the juiciest quotes. You see that everywhere. That's not 10% of the story. It's a massive 4,000 word piece with brilliant photography. With the war photographer, who was like 5'0", absolutely fearless, and is fantastic at a job. And more power to the elbow of people like that.
Yeah, it is an incredible story. The situation, is he going to stay there next season? Do you know, has that been established yet, or has that adventure run its course?
No, I don't know if he's going to stay there. No, I don't think it's been established yet. He told me that he wanted to stay, that he had unfinished business to do, but I always sense, if you look at his career, he hasn't tended to stay too long. What did surprise me is he's clearly got something. He's not a joke. His players respond to him. When he took over, the team were near the relegation zone, and football's a results business, and he gets results. But he's got such a patchy CV. He's been everywhere, you know. Man United are never going to give him the job. A big club's never going to give him the job. But since the story broke a couple of days ago, Manchester United fans are so desperate that some of them are saying, you know what, it'd probably be more fun than what we watched for the last few years. I was pleased because his health seems to be in a much better place. I met his children when he was there, well, some of his children, and he seemed to be enjoying it. I just thought it was a good football story that this club, clearly a bit different, this club. Why on earth did Pep Guardiola go there, for example? And they attendances surged. Everyone I spoke to absolutely loved him. And you saw side angles, people saying, oh, he was in the hospice for the street kids last week. He turned up unannounced. Oh, right, with a photographer. No. Came by himself. He kissed every child there. Kissed. And he gave some money. And I know it's very easy to vilify Maradona. I know he's made lots of mistakes. I'm not going to pretend that he's a saintly figure. But I will say that there's lots of very good sides to his personality as well.
Look, it's obviously a complicated story. The movie is out pretty soon. We're going to give people a chance to go and see it for themselves. I didn't realise Guardiola had been there. When was that? Like after his trip to Italy? When was he there?
Yeah, it was after his indiscretions in Italy. He was there, I think it was about 2006, and he spent half a season there. And he became friends with people there. So when I spoke to the president, he said, you know Pep? And he'd just been to see him in Manchester. So Pep had clearly enjoyed his time there. And I think he enjoyed the anonymity as well, which he wouldn't get in Barcelona. And Pep went to Brescia, he went to Sinaloa. He went with the unconventional towards the end of his career, but they're not a huge club. It's not a football city. Average crowds are 7,000, 15,000 when they're doing well. It's hard to get to. It is extremely dangerous. I didn't have one problem when I was there, but statistically, it is extremely dangerous. I did think of setting myself up as an English drug dealer on a street corner just to see the reaction and how long it'd take me, but the photographer said, "You've pushed your luck enough here. Enough's gone right through this city.
Fair
Get
enough.
back to the hotel."
If you get in trouble in Buenos Aires and somebody says to you, what's the crack, and you're like, I'm a tourist from Dublin, what's your accent, Andy? How does that go?
Yo soy de Irlanda. Yo soy de Dublín, el capital de Irlanda. Soy turista. I'm a tourist from. But if you're going to try and get me to put a Dublin accent,
you're doing it in Spanish.
I'll do an interview in a Dublin accent the day after Manchester United next win the European Cup.
Okay, well, so we're looking at 2028 probably. If well, that would be okay. You'd take one win in the next decade. Speaking of Man United, what the hell is going on? Where is this technical director? Who is in charge? Who is actually responsible for the fact that there hasn't been any clear signs yet of any proper, tangible transfer activity?
Ed Wood was in charge, and he's a leading executive, and he's under fire because the team is failing. The club has failed in the last year. United have wanted to appoint a sporting director, and while there are mitigating factors, the roles changed, for example. Jose Mourinho didn't want one, for example. There has been no appointment. And that's fine. If there's going to be no appointment, fine. But the club have briefed that there's going to be an appointment for over 2 years now. I wrote the original story. I remember where I was. I was on a train to Basel when I got the story. And then it was more of an administrative role, but then it became one where the person would have more of a role involved in transfers, like you see at some of the biggest clubs in the world, where the technical director is this really ultra-connected, multilingual person who is so plugged into football's grapevine that not only does he know that Palermo have got a brilliant right-back, he knows who his agent is, and he knows who's tapped him up, and he knows that he's already agreed to go to Milan or whoever. And that appointment has yet to be made. United fans are not happy. The mood is very despondent among Manchester United fans. Fans who've been very patient, especially at matches. There is a different type of Man United fan. You get the knee-jerk reactionistas on social media, but the patient type are getting pretty frustrated. The season was wretched how it ended. Those 2 wins in 12 games. There have been no signings yet. I think you've got to judge them on the signings when the season starts. I think that's fair. But it would do no harm whatsoever if Manchester United signed players early on and showed their intent, be it by buying young, talented players, predominantly British players, or be it by whatever they're going to do. They will lift the mood off the floor. It hasn't been helped by Manchester City winning the league so convincingly, nor Liverpool winning the European Cup. This is like the perfect storm against Manchester United fans, and part of me smiles because I've seen United win just about everything. I've enjoyed the great moments, and I think just got to take it on the chin at the moment when things aren't going your way. But there are worries about the club, and I think the club have got to be decisive this summer, and they've got to get rid of some players. Ole Gunnar wants to be decisive. Action's going to speak louder than words.
Yeah, we were chatting earlier on. It's a game more than anything about where players are going to be next season. Owen thinks there's a good chance Pogba isn't at Manchester United. You know, if you were a betting man at the minute and we were giving you a stack of chips to push on, do they end on red or do they end somewhere else on white or black and white?
It's so nuanced, everything. The club don't want to sell him, but then the manager knows that he's not always a positive influence in the dressing room, but he also knows he's very professional when he's training. Pogba wants to play in a freer role. He got that when Ole Gunnar came. Then he didn't get it towards the end. He didn't have a good relationship with Jose Mourinho. He wants to leave Manchester United. United don't want to sell him. Clubs don't have the money to afford the type of transfer fee. So it's really difficult to call on Pogba. I think if Madrid came in with a massive offer, that would be extremely tempting to the player and to Man United. But I don't think Madrid have got the money after buying Hazard and Jovic. So I think United want to keep the biggest names. They want them to come good. They want to give them more chances. And I do have some sympathy for the club. They've offered David De Gea a contract to make him the best paid player, goalkeeper in the world. And it's not enough. I mean, how far do Man United push this? You know, De Gea didn't finish the season strongly either. And I think United, with the second highest wage bill in world football, they've got to start getting more value out of the players they've signed. And much as I would want to criticise the recruitment strategy, because it has failed, they have backed the managers. United have spent an awful lot of money badly.
Yeah, I wonder if they need to hit the reset button. And I was talking to a bunch of Man United fans recently who were all saying that they feel like the Sanchez contract has kind of poisoned what's going to happen, because everybody comes in and wants it. And until you become the club who doesn't pay the Sanchez money, you are the club that pays the Sanchez money. So that's the expectation set. Everybody's wages inflate to a level that's higher than what they should be. And so it's hard to get value for money at that point.
I welcome the Sanchez signing like every single Man United fan I know. No matter what people now say in hindsight. I'd watched him closely when he was at Barcelona. I'd watched him when he was at Udinese, a little bit at Arsenal. It just hasn't worked out. It has been a dreadful signing. And I don't think that he wanted it to turn out like this. It's just how it's turned out. And his wages, because he came on, well, a kind of free transfer, even though Mkhitaryan went the other way. He got this really inflated deal. United found that Manchester City wanted him, and the agent was in the perfect position because he could push for more money. He got more money. Everyone got the lift when he arrived, and he was brilliant in his first game at Yeovil away. But Yeovil were 90th in the Football League, and he's going to be judged against much better opposition, and it hasn't happened. I don't think he's happy. He's not particularly popular in the dressing room. And it's just been a failed signing. And it's not been the only one. And I think United, as you alluded to, they've got to be stronger. They've got to be getting more value out of players. And what you've had is some players going to the club and saying, I'm more important than Alexis Sanchez. I deserve a 60% pay rise. Well, 20 players could say that they're more important than Alexis Sanchez. That doesn't make it right. Manchester United shouldn't be sixth. They shouldn't be failing like they failed last year. Okay, football's cyclical. I do think Man United will eventually come good. Liverpool fans were even saying that to me in Madrid, which was a delight for me to be at the weekend, as I'm sure you can imagine. But at the moment, there's very little light in this tunnel. And I'm sure all non-Man United fans watching this, I'm sure their hearts are bleeding.
Andy, good stuff. I'm really looking forward to picking up a copy of 442. Thanks a million for joining us.
Thank you.
It's Andy Mitten there, newly appointed editor-at-large of 442.
Sounds amazing, that piece. It's great that a magazine with a hard copy, obviously with a great online section as well, can actually go and do journalism like that. I'm looking forward to reading it, because it was a risk, as he said. Like Maradona could have just turned around and be like, nah, don't fancy it.
Yeah, it's a good story then if he rejects you. But if you've got everybody else there, you've got the architect of a good story. I mean, it was a risk in like physical terms, in that, it sounds like a slightly dodgy place in the world.
He sounds like he can rock that accent pretty well. I'd say he'll be just fine, Andy Mitten.
The Brown Thomas sunglasses promotion is on now until Sunday the 9th of June in all Brown Thomas stores and on brownthomas.com. Right now you can receive 20% off the biggest selection of sunglasses at Brown Thomas and brownthomas.com. Father's Day at Brown Thomas for everything he really wants. This is what great gifting really looks like. Give him the perfect pair of shades this Father's Day. We're giving you the chance to win a pair of €250 worth of sunglasses. To enter, share with us your first or best memory of going to a sports event with your dad, mum, aunt, uncle, guardian, whoever. So Conor Fitzgerald has entered this morning. Favourite memory of going to a game is going to the Munster Miracle match and leaving 5 minutes early to beat the traffic, missing all the tries. Hashtag OTB AM. There's a lot of good stories about beating traffic and missing key moments. I mean, obviously the all-time great one is George Best leaving the Nou Camp with 89 minutes gone in 1999 and missing the Manchester United comeback against Bayern Munich. Dara Hayes on Facebook says, a sporting related memory I have with my dad was being a massive Tip hurling fan as a kid. I was in the old Harcourt I was in the Old Harcourt Children's Hospital. My dad saw the All-Ireland winning fullback legend Noel Sheehy around the hospital, told him I was a big fan. He called into me and chatted for a while and signed my Beano for me. Certainly made me feel a lot better as a 9-year-old stuck in hospital. Sheehy and my dad, pure legends. That's a great story. That's exactly the type of stuff we're looking for this morning for you. Right, I want to play you this. We've got the shot clock coming next. Donegal endurance athlete Jason Black relayed the harrowing dangers of trying to climb some of the world's highest peaks. It's well worth listening to or watching that full piece. He was speaking with Joe last night. Have a look.
And it was really and truly only whenever I got to the super big mountains that I got an opportunity to deal with it. And what that looked like was, because when I was on a typical expedition that was maybe a week or two long, they were kind of a quick in, quick out job. So you were kind of very focused on the expedition. It was a high impact, high speed expedition. You were in, you were out. Or if it was a race, there were so many other parts of the jigsaw puzzle that was taking up your time. But when you're in an expedition like Everest or any of the big 7,000, 8,000 metre mountains, you're in an expedition for 2 months. And you're so removed from this world that you have no choice but to listen to your mind. And what happens is, and this is really what happened to me, was that in this world, my life was so busy that I hadn't actually dealt with the effects of the bully.
Yeah.
I had moved on. There was another meeting to go to. There was another race to attend. There was another training session to get to. Later in life, there was a child coming along. The time was set up. There was a mortgage to pay. There was X, Y, and Z to do. But it was only when I got an opportunity to go to the big mountains and be away for so long and be removed from all the tools of this world, the internet, the online, and then all of a sudden, Jason Black was screaming. And I mean, he was screaming. Like, it was terrifying. Like, I lost my mum when I was 17, shortly after the bully. And like, my mum was the glue in her family, like most Irish mums. I lost my brother at 25 in a motorbike accident. I was 25, he was 24. And I hadn't dealt with this. It was only, when I got the opportunity like that my world was screaming, but I wasn't listening. And then all of a sudden, I'm climbing Everest, and it re-emerged, and I had to deal with the bully. And I mean, it was so raw, it was frightening. I had to deal with my mum's death. I had to deal with my brother's death. So I'm crying, I'm weeping, I'm mourning, I'm searching, I'm screaming. And at the same time, I'm trying to climb one of the greatest mountains in the world.
Yeah.
And I've come here to climb a mountain. I'm not here to climb that, but really and truly, and this is the crux of the jigsaw puzzle, I didn't realise it, but I was climbing out of the gutter of life when I was on those mountains. And when I stood on the summit of Mount Everest, first and foremost, in 2013, I wasn't standing on the top of the world. I was standing on the top of my world. I had survived the bully. I had survived my brother's death. I had survived my mum's death to cancer. And, I had survived a youthful depression in Donegal. I had survived suicide.
Really?
Yeah. And I just felt the world would be a better place without Jason Black in it.
And you're very welcome along to this week's Shot Clock. It's where Kieran Donaghy joins us in studio for Kieran Donaghy's Shot Clock, or down the lens from Skype, wherever he is in the world. And we talk through the pressing issues of the week. We've got a 2-minute timer, at which we religiously abide by the rules. At the end of the 2-minute timer, we shut up. Isn't that right, Kieran?
Yeah, we do, yeah. Exactly on 2 minutes, you'll see us all shut up. Not.
Our first point this week is about Stephen Cluxton. 100 not out. He is by far the most appearances of anybody in Championship football. Streaking away from Sean Cavanagh at this point, and who knows when he's going to stop, because there's no sign of it. Would Dublin be winning 5 in a row? Will they win 5 in a row if he gets injured later on the season?
He's probably, when I looked at it and how important he is, Ger, to the Dubs, we know his leadership and we know his quality under the kickouts. We know how good of a shot stopper he is. We know he's missed 2 championship games in 16 years. But if he was to get injured, he's the only player in that Dublin team that actually diminishes their chances of winning. I think every other area of the field, they have a stopgap. They have someone to come in. And Evan Comfort's a good goalie, but when you're going for 5 in a row and you've the hill behind you and you're in a tight All-Ireland semi-final or a final, which they'll be in, that's where Cluxton comes to the fore, and that's where he, even in the past when he's been rattled, he always finds a way to calm himself down and hit the big kick out when he has to. And yeah, he's been remarkable, really. 100 games is amazing for the longevity of your career. Of course, Sean Cavanagh on 89, Tomas and Mark both on 88. They're outfield players, makes it a bit harder with injuries, etc. But
how many do you have?
69.
Nice.
Yeah, I'm a bit behind the boys, but yeah, no, happy enough with my. If you'd have told me that at the start, I would have been delighted. But yeah, it's just he's the one guy I feel that if he was.
Is there not enough signs recently that he's actually come off the absolute peak a little bit, that other goalkeepers are getting close to him, and that so therefore he's less of an advantage now than he was in the past?
I think other teams and other players have come up a level, but we talked about him on Shot Clock, I'd say, in episode 2 about the quarterback effect he has with the Dubs. He literally controls the pace they're playing at, what way he wants them to be moving. He was international rules captain when I was playing in 11, so I know what he's like inside in the dressing room. I know what he's like in team meetings. So he's legit there. He's everything covered. But it's that kick out that if the Mayo boys come back and make it through the qualifiers and get into that All-Ireland semi-final or final, that's the pressure kick out that they need Cluxton under.
They're 14-point favourites against Kildare this weekend. Kieran Donaghy was talking after last week about how he has to believe and his team have to be confident that they can win that game. Are they going to get inside the 14 points?
Yeah, they could get inside the 14 points. Yeah, it depends a lot how they start, Kildare. They're very... we played them in a quarter-final in 16 and we put 6 or 7 goals past them, but then we were playing them last year. They were up 5 points at half-time in Killarney, playing really well, and we went out and won by 9 or 10 in the end. So if they can just get the good start and kind of stay on the track, and maybe when they have that bad patch that they put it to bed quick, they might give it. I think they'll be inside 14 points. I think it's a bit disrespectful to have them that much, but that's how good Dublin are. Next is NBA playoffs. Big news coming last night out of Golden State that KD is out for Game 3 and that Klay Thompson is highly questionable. So I know they're your boys, Ger, and I know they beat my Rockets pretty easily early on. Didn't see anybody else beating them. But without these two guys, I think the Raptors, and Game 3 is huge. I think Raptors can get Game 3 tonight. What do you think?
Yeah, I don't know. I think that this has been a really interesting series where they lost the first game and there was a bit of mild panic setting in because the second game was in Toronto.
Yeah.
And it was just fairly routine as championship finals go. So I don't know. I just think that you see in their superstar, they have somebody who doesn't really mind who his supporting cast is at the minute. That when Steph Curry, when the game is on the line, when it's not on the line, when there needs to be an injection of pace, when there needs to be get the blood up, he's everything you want in a superstar. And I don't know, he seems relatively understated as superstars go.
I think he's top class in that respect. I was listening to a show a few nights ago where someone was calling into question that he'd never got an MVP in a final series, which is the pinnacle. It's like getting man of the match in the All-Ireland final. It's the biggest game of the season or the biggest series. Can you perform? He's never got it because Iguodala got it the first year they won because he was unbelievable defensively and came good in the end. Durant won it last 2 years. LeBron won it the other year. He was to the finals. So he's been to 4 in a row but never won MVP. But like you said, he's understated. He does what needs to be done. And I think with Boogie Cousins back and Iguodala going as well as he is, the only fear I'd have for Steph is that they'd start leaving ball screens completely and doubling him, trap him, getting the ball out of his hands, and then it really does rely on
the others.
Yeah, and now the others aren't Klay that's going to hit every three that you give him, or Durant that you can just give him the ball and he can do it whatever you want. Also out of big news last night is Kyrie Irving was all the talk was that he was going to the Knicks, and the big talk, and I heard Stephen A. Smith crying about it last night, is that Kyrie now reportedly is heading for Brooklyn, which will throw free agency into disarray, because it was all about Kyrie, who he was going to go with, who was going to go with him, were they all going to go to the Knicks and make that Knicks franchise really relative again. So really interesting. That's going to throw free agency into, if he does go to Brooklyn, which would be an interesting move for him. But
a championship winning move? Can he win a championship there?
It depends on who he can convince to go to Brooklyn with him. They have a bit of space, but there must be there must be a plan other than Kyrie, because they're not just going to bring in Kyrie and be competitive again. So they were good this year. They were a playoff team, but I don't see just getting Kyrie to win a championship.
All right, Tier 2 appetite. This is obviously in the continuing conversation that we helped start here on Shot Clock a couple of weeks ago when Kieran and Owen brought forward their proposals for what a Tier 2 championship would look like. The backlash has begun. What's going on?
Exactly, you get a bit of feedback, which is always good, and you try and. I think there's Marie Crowe wrote an interesting piece at the weekend where she contacted players from the Tier 2 or the Mick O'Dwyer competition or whatever you want to call it. I think we should actually, if they are going to do it, name something
You've
quick.
named it the Mick O'Dwyer.
I've named it the Mick O'Dwyer, but that's just what's coming to me. I'm sure there's fellas in other counties would have other men that would be rightfully, that honour would be rightly bestowed on them, so there is plenty of men out there. Obviously me being a Kerry man and being a huge Micko fan, he's down there, but I think they should get rid of calling it the Tier 2 as quickly as possible, because it is a bit, it's not the best way to put it. But she was saying that she contacted some of the players and she was met with frustration, suspicion, exasperation and a lack of appetite for Tier 2. But what was put to the players is what I'd like to know. Was it just there's another competition out there where you're going to go into it, what you think? That's not going to, I can see why players might be, and plus you see, the Joe McDonagh Cup is not getting enough coverage, it's not getting enough stuff in the Sunday game, it's not getting enough reviews, so you can see why there might be some suspicion there. But she made a point that separating counties into 2 tiers will only widen the gap, and I don't believe that's true. I think there's no team can get better playing 1 or 2 games in the summer. I think at least if you're guaranteed the 6 or 7 games, you can improve the gap and you can get better. And none of these teams have ever gotten a run in the championship. Very little of Tier 2 teams, Division 3 and Division 4 teams, as of now, have had a real run in the championship where you get that feeling where the county starts getting behind you, you get a few wins, you get into a semi-final. They might have had one big day in a provincial championship, but they haven't experienced that. But I think the biggest thing the GAA have to be careful for, Ger, is whatever they introduce, they have to really have it rock solid, have the funding behind it, have the sponsors lined up that they want, and they also have to have the TV rights sorted, whether it's Tina G comes in, but that has to be huge, because for players to buy into it, they have to feel it can't go down the Tommy Murphy route.
No, you absolutely need to put the package in place to support all of the changes you're making, and you need to get everybody on board early on. And I think that what they need to do is to start putting out proposals and ruling them out relatively quickly. Do we go 4 divisions and have 4 tiers? Do we go 3 divisions? Let's have these conversations now so that the people who are suspicious, and no doubt they're suspicious for a reason, they've seen their county suffer for whatever reason in the past, that those suspicions, you bring those people along with you, as opposed to going, right, here's the final version, you like it or lump it.
And I think talking to the players is important. As you said, if they have the proposal and they have the benefits of the proposal, whether it's semi-finals on in New York or whether it's trips away for the winning teams or whatever it is, all the stuff that is going to make this Tier 2 competition, the sponsorship, getting the right backing, getting the right promotion of it. Maybe we have a Saturday game at night time and a Sunday game. Maybe put one of these Sunday games on midweek. We're all sitting around midweek. There's often nights there at 9:30. There isn't much on if your favourite show isn't on. And I'm sure everybody sit down when they have a bit of time in their hands on a Monday or Tuesday night, and they'd watch a Sunday game show with lots of teams of a similar level going at each other with competitive games. I'm sure you get big viewers at that.
One last point about the 2nd tier and 3rd tier in hurling. They're generally counties who are football counties who are not getting enough coverage and not generating the support from the county board. But if you're a football county and your football county is in the 2nd tier, then the whole county has to get behind it, because that's your team. Of course. No choice.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think they will. They get behind it and they get on a bit of a run, and fans get to go to more than 2 games in the summer. Fans get to see their best players on the pitch. So it is huge that's sold right to them.
Yeah, we all get to feel what it's like to be Mayo. Let's move on. Ulster Football love in. So it turns out the Ulster Football Championship is by far the best sports championship on the island, and I'm including the Munster Hurling Championship in that, which has been a bit of a washout so far this year. What the hell has happened to Ulster football that all of a sudden we're tuning in and complaining that these games aren't on TV, as opposed to thanking our lucky stars?
Oh, you're a gas man. You're really delighted that Munster Hurling Championship isn't just kind of ruling the roost over all we talk about like last year. But look, the Ulster Championship is I think there's been so many great games, but I think teams generally are starting to kind of get away from this whole blanket, which was spoiling football for years, where every team that didn't fancy their chances of pure natural talent being able to go out and beat somebody through football, or having to play a team that's a few levels above them, would endorse this kind of, right, well look, Donegal did it there and they were only beaten by 4 points against the great Dublin team back in, the first year they brought it in. Well, if we all try that, at least we'll be close and we won't be getting hammered. But I think what a lot of teams are doing now, and from what I've seen in Ulster so far, is pushing up, playing quite aggressive, trying to tackle early, trying to force turnovers early so their bodies up to score, and that they're also space is becoming more, and I think people are utilising space more, so they're keeping the pitch wider to allow avenues for fellas to run into. But there's a lot of good teams of equal standard, really, when you kind of take Antrim and maybe even Down put in a good performance, Derry put in a good performance against Tyrone. So it's teams of that are close together, that are big rivalries, that are going at each other, and it's been unbelievable to watch so far. Like, I was above in Cavan versus Monaghan, and they were really impressive. And you could tell Monaghan in a bad day, but they're still going to be there.
The two semi-finals are on, the semi-final replay, Cavan or Armagh. Who's going to actually win the whole thing? I'm going to ask you for individual. But who will be the World Champions this year?
I have a sneaky fancy for Donegal. I just think they've got new kind of younger forwards mixed in with the kind of that older group that are experienced, that a good few of them have an All-Ireland medal. And I just think if that new kind of youthful exuberance can just inject a bit of positivity and a bit of class up front and help out Michael Murphy, I think they have the defence, they have the idea of how to play the game. They've had 3 very good managers in charge of them over the last 5 or 6 years, so they'll have taken bits from all them. And I have a sneaky suspicion for Donegal.
Yeah, I wouldn't.
My Tyrone family members won't be overly happy with me there.
I went back against that. Katie Taylor next?
Yeah, Katie Taylor, just unbelievable. Congratulations to her, obviously, first of all, but just like what she has done is pretty remarkable. That she came out of amateur and she set her mind on this. She's gone and done it. There was a lot of hoopla after the fight about that she didn't deserve it. I know Andy Lee was in here talking. He watched it back with the sound off and he thinks she won 10-6. So even though I watched it back, I wouldn't have Andy's expertise in it. But the fact that she has that now, the rematch is still very mouth-watering, because there is the talk out there, even though that talk of the appeal is the worst thing I've ever heard. Always take your beating no matter what way it happens. And I think that rematch will be one that we look forward to. But yeah, get the statue of Katie Taylor made. I can't believe that the parade isn't already sorted, or has to be. Get that parade down to Bray quick, get all the kids off school, all the national school kids off school, cancel the leaving cert today and get them down there, because what she's done is pretty remarkable. Yeah,
and what about Shane Ross popping up to welcome her home?
Yeah, I'm waiting for Shane Ross to pop up behind me here. I just better check, but yeah, it was, I don't know, it was sad. It was kind of sad.
It is, isn't it? And it's
kind of sad that we're talking about Shane Ross, and she's arriving back with 5 gold medals. Yeah. It's a joke.
This is the last time I'm ever going to mention him. I'm going to not talk about him again.
I'm sorry, no, because I had this in my. You were probably sick of it already.
It's the only way to deal with it, though. But it is an incredible achievement. And look, if for whoever wants to see the rematch, if she stole the fight, if you're one of those people who thinks she stole the fight, boxing is full of this stuff. But so long as there's a rematch, it doesn't really matter, because everybody gets to fight again.
Yeah, and I think, really looking at it, it was the first time that you felt that she was right max at the pin of her collar, which is what you want to see in every sports person. You want to see them tested to the very limit, and she was tested last night, but she's gritty, man. She's tough. She's not backing down, and in fairness to Pursoon, she didn't back away too much either, and kept it coming for the whole lot of it.
And at some point, she's going to finish up fairly soon, you would suspect, because there's not much more for her to do. So this rematch, and there's maybe one other fight in the division that she's wanted that they haven't been able to sort out just yet.
Yeah, and I think spacing, I'd love somehow if they could work it to get a big day in Ireland, the Viva, Croke Park, get Katie Taylor with her again, because people will, she'd pack Croke Park by herself, but throw Michael Conlon on the card, throw Jason Quigley on the card. We've got great fighters in Ireland, let's try and find some way that we can get them to actually hear. It's fine Katie Taylor fighting over in America at 3 o'clock in the morning, but there's a lot of kids aren't getting to see her fight, and a lot of young boys and girls would take huge inspiration from her. So if we could get a fight in Ireland, I just thought there's not enough talk of it. I don't know if it's possible or can they not do it, but Jesus Christ, with Steve Collins and Chris Eubank below on Mill Street in the hay barn, we've got these wonderful stadiums. Let's get our best fighters into them and have a good old night of something similar to what McGregor and the lads did with the UFC a few years ago.
All right, so that is this part of Shot Clock is done. Let's move on. Absolutely delighted to say that we've got Conor Hourihane on the line. Conor, good morning to you. How are you getting on?
Hi, how you doing? You okay?
Yeah, great. We also have Kieran Donaghy with us as well. Kieran?
How's it going, Conor? How are you keeping?
Yeah, not too bad at all. Not too bad.
I should explain very briefly, Kieran, that you were right beside me 1 second ago here in the studio, and now you're outside on the phone because you've had to run out to do an important bit of business, but you didn't want to miss this because you and Conor have actually been mates for a good while.
Yeah. I first kind of started kind of messaging Conor and wishing him luck before big games. I read an article on him about when he was early on in his Barnsley days. I just found him an interesting character. So yeah, we've been touching off, kind of tipping away with a bit of bits of contact here and there before games, and it's great to see the rise coming over the last the last number of years. But I guess everything from your early Sunderland days you've been on an upward curve since. But I'd actually like to start back at the beginning, if you don't mind.
Yeah.
During the premise that now, and it's every kid's dream. But I suppose when you were a youngster around Bandon, out in the back garden as a kid, was it Premiership football the dream, or was it hurling with Cork? Was it scoring the winner into the Blackrock end? Was it a Munster? Did you want to be Ronan O'Gara? What was it?
Yeah, it was. Do you know what? It was probably a mixture of all of them. If I'm being brutally honest, I loved GA, still do now. Was fascinated by all sports, hurling, football, rugby. Played rugby, soccer. I was. You
were doing anything but being in school, so basically.
Basically, yeah. School probably wasn't my direction, to be honest with you. But I know. Listen, I was probably obsessed with sport. Really, GA. Was still a big love of mine. I probably had to make a big decision. Maybe 12, 13, 14, what direction I wanted to go on, and for whatever reason, I went in the soccer direction, and I haven't looked back since, really. But but as a youngster, really, I was just fascinated by sport, enjoyed playing every sport possible, and it's been a huge part of my life, really.
And even touching off of that there, as you said, you were around playing lots of sports, and you said football. You said the soccer kind of pulled you in. For kids that are out there now dealing with kind of playing lots of sports like I did, like you did, like so many other kids out there do. What kind of piece of advice would you give them when they're not really sure about what they want, and there's coaches pulling them, come play with the football, come play the hurling, come play the rugby, come play the soccer?
It's tough for lads, like even for myself, looking back, I had hurling managers and coaches, in my ear, or football managers in my ear wanting to come to this game or that game, and soccer then as well. And, basically I think for any young lad, really, I would say enjoy playing as many sports as you can until a certain age, like I said, maybe 13, 14, 15, and then really you have to nail down that one sport that you kind of want to go on and hopefully achieve success in it. It's not easy. It's a tough road. There's a lot of sacrifices I've had to make. Missed out on many kind of social occasions that I would love to have been at. It's not easy. But you really have to nail down and focus on that one sport that you really want to go for, and give it absolutely everything you've got to try and make it happen.
And come here to me, the Sunderland. Just go over Sunderland, because you were there at a kind of obviously at a young age. And look, I suppose you've been lucky enough now with Sunderland and Villa, two absolute huge clubs over in England. But going in there as a youngster to Sunderland, who I knew when I was growing up, and they had Niall Quinn and Kevin Phillips breaking my heart, beating Chelsea 4-3 in games. What was your initial landing from where you were coming from into the big time over there?
Yeah, it was tough. I had a good kind of settling in period, really. I moved over when I was 16, but more or less for my from 15 to kind of 16, I was over there for a lot of time, so I wasn't just dropped at the front door of a digs, when I was 16.
Okay.
I was probably there for maybe 2 weeks at a time when I was 15, then back maybe for a month and then another 2 weeks. So I was familiar with the surroundings when I went over when I was 16. I still remember moving over now today, Mum and Dad going over with me, leaving my friends behind me, a lot of tears. When I look back now, I thought I was a man at 16, but I look at 16-year-olds now and they're only young boys, But listen, I look back at it now with a lot of fondness. Fantastic memories.
And when you were over there, Conor, and you were obviously in training, and what big lessons were you taking from kind of, what were the learnings you were taking from the older pros, from people around the club? Like I was reading about you today that there was a fear of failure there. I know Ty Kennelly, when he went out to the Sydney Swans, he was afraid to come home and tell his own man that he didn't make it. That was a big, huge driving factor for him.
Yeah, a huge fear of failure for me, which still kind of pushes me on today, if I'm being honest with you. I always had that fear of, coming back to Bandon, being that guy that walks down the street and people go, oh, he was in England, but he never made it, And still to know, even though I've got my foot well in the door in soccer in England, and I still have that fear now, maybe not making it at Barnsley or Villa or Ireland or whatever, and not letting my family down as well. Mum and Dad, they gave up so many hours, after work Dad would drive me to whatever edge of Cork that was there for a training session. It was hugely for them really. But when I went over at 16, it was a big change, of course. The quality was very high. It was a lot to take in. It's not easy for an Irish lad going over there, but you just need to give it everything you've got. I probably obviously didn't go well for me at Sunderland. It didn't go well for me at Ipswich, and I got a lucky break at Plymouth. And it was probably until I got to Plymouth I started to realise myself, and this is just my personal experience. Other lads might realise it younger. Other lads might realise it older when it's too late. But I probably only realised when I got to Plymouth what it took to forge out a career in the game, really.
What was the bit that made you realise what you needed to do? And if somebody had told you when you were at Sunderland or Ipswich, would you have been ready to hear it?
It probably wasn't because I wasn't working hard enough, or I'm not sure what it was, to be honest with you, but it was probably because when I got to Plymouth in League Two, it was a case of this is my last chance saloon, or else I am going to be, in my eyes, that failure, that letting down the family, and it was sink or swim really, for myself. And I did everything possible. I left no stone unturned. When I went to Plymouth, I was in on my days off to make it work, and that was probably the real start of my journey really, where and I've kept that mental attitude the whole way through over the last 7-8 years, and luckily enough for me, it's helped me on my rise to where I am today. Do
you remember those times now when something good happens? Do you think back to those moments and go, yeah, that's what this was all about?
Yeah, I suppose so. I think I was delighted to be playing first team football at Plymouth. A couple of years later, I became captain, and then I got an opportunity to move to Barnsley, and I was really in that selfish mindset that, right, whatever, if this opportunity comes for me or an opportunity in life comes to me, I really have to grasp it. And like I said, whatever it took for me really to make a success of myself, I was willing to take it. In my career, when you have one of them good days, yes, you have to savour it, but in my mind now, I'm like, right, on to the next day, on to the next session. What do I have to do to recover and to be ready for the next day? It's really a relentless cycle, really, Yeah.
Kieran, that sounds a little bit like you getting into that kind of that early stage of your career, and then the break happens and you get back into it.
Yeah, exactly. It's a lot of the way for, and Conor is a prime example of that it just doesn't, it doesn't happen for everyone earlier on in their career, but you've got to give people time to find a way. But what I found interesting, whatever it didn't work, you moved to Ipswich, Conor, with Glean on it. You didn't play that season. But then, 2 years later, you're captain of Plymouth. So was it that kind of, were these guys looking at you in Plymouth, this kid that's come in, all of a sudden he's in here every day, he's training when he's not supposed to be training, he's lifting when he's not supposed to be lifting, he's taking free kicks when he's not. Did they see that and just say, yeah, this kid's special, we got to make him captain? And how did the older fellas in the club, when you were made captain, how did the older boys react, the older pros?
Yeah, it probably was that. It's probably that realisation, like I said, sink or swim time, let's give it absolutely everything. And I turned into this character, quickly became, I went from a boy to a man very, very quickly, Listen, the older lads at the club were absolutely fine with me. I think they took the armband off a man called Darren Purse. I don't know if you remember him. Was at Birmingham City, Cardiff. And he was absolutely great with me. But at that time, Kieran, to be honest with you, I didn't care what anyone thought of me. I didn't care if they were angry or this fella shouldn't have the armband, or this fella, who's this fella think he is at 21 coming in and doing whatever, I was just in that tunnel vision of I'm making this work.
I'm making it, lads. You can either come along with me or don't.
Yeah, you're either jumping on the bandwagon or you're not, and it didn't put me up or down, And like I said, over the last 7 or 8 years, that's the mindset I've had, and that's probably what's rose me through the leagues.
Yeah, and obviously that whole, I'd say that's such a pivotal time for you in your career because, as you say, you went on to play a huge role for Barnsley, and again captain them and lead them to the championship after a playoff win in Wembley. How different was that championship playoff win with them at that stage of your career and your feelings afterwards as compared to this time when you're now into the Premiership with a bigger club, Villa? How did them two experiences kind of compare? It's a bit of a tricky one, but I just wanted to get your thoughts on that.
Yeah, no, listen, they were both absolutely fantastic days. The Barnsley one was special. I was captain of the club and walking up them steps to get me to the championship. To be honest with you, that day was fantastic, epic. But it was nearly kind of this is my next step. I'm ticking that off the list. Right, I'm into the championship now. There was no case of me stopping where I was. It's the same here with Villa. Listen, the ultimate goal is to get to the Premier League. Of course, I'm absolutely delighted to be there. But it's like, right, I've ticked that one off. Let's get going because I want to get ready to make an impact at that level as well. I've made an impact in League 2, League 1, Championship, and I want to make an impact in the Premier League. I'm not going into it naive and thinking it's going to be easy because it's the best league in the world. But I'm going to be leaving no stone unturned again to try and make it work.
Yeah, no, and fair play. And Villa, look, it's obviously a huge club, and I know I was on to you early days about a year ago to see if I could get over, and yourself and John Terry were looking after a trip for me. I didn't get to make it over, but just that run that you were on, I was obviously watching every result, and just that run that you went on after Christmas, or kind of into the new year almost, January, February, or whatever it was, where you went on this unbelievable run, and you were playing a massive part in the run with goals and assists.
Yeah.
When you got to the championship final, were you fairly bulletproof? Were you kind of, we're going to make up for last year's disappointment, obviously, of losing out in Wembley, and you were never going to lose that game. I got the feeling watching it.
Yeah, we were fierce determined, that great run just snowballed, and yourself winning games, you just feel invincible, like no one's going to beat us today, and that's the kind of run that we were on. We had a little bit of a blip last game of the season against Norwich. We got beat there, but I didn't think that put us, in a bad way, shape or form. How could it be after the great one we were on? And I just felt like this team was ready to take that next step and win the playoffs. No disrespect to Leeds or Derby, we saw that game, and we definitely maybe would have been a little bit more fearful of Leeds. They're a very good side, and we were surprised that Derby won, and that gave us a big lift as well. And I just think things just fell in the right place for us. And on the day, listen, I was hugely nervous, if I'm being brutally honest, going into the final.
Look, that's what happens when you're playing in front of 90,000 for 10th.
No, I know, but last year's final against Fulham, I wasn't nervous at all, and I took it all in my stride. But I think the kind of fear factor of losing 2 finals in a row made me hugely nervous, and it was just pure relief to get over the line, if I'm being honest with you. I don't know about you, but I always like that bit of a pain in the stomach, and if I have nerves, I always feel, Jesus, this is good. I'm nervous. I'm going to play well. I know what's at stake. Yeah. It's not been nervous sometimes worries me. Right, yeah. No, it was just a case of kind of going off experience last year. I wasn't nervous for whatever reason. I took it all in my stride. And this year I think it was the nerves of, right, I'm getting this job done because I can't take... You can't take the pain. I can't take the 2 years in a row of getting beat. And that was just my personal kind of determination on the day. Other lads might have been different, but that was the kind of determination I had, that I couldn't have mum and dad going away from Wembley, losing 2 championship playoff finals. No, and that's being brutally honest. So to get over the line was pure relief. It was that enjoyment of just the relief of getting over the line.
Well, look, man, I'm delighted for you, and thanks so much for coming on Shot Clock. I know you have a flight to catch, so I won't keep you much longer. I just want to wish you best of luck out in Denmark, and obviously against Gibraltar at home.
Yeah.
And with God's help, I'll get over to you next year and get inside there and see what type of a special atmosphere you have going there. But best of luck. Enjoy the summer after these two games as well, man. All right.
I appreciate that. Absolute pleasure. I'll speak to you soon. Take care.
All right, Conor. Sound.
All right. Bye-bye. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Great stuff there from Conor Hourihane on this week's Shot Clock. That is the end of this week's Shot Clock. Kieran has just demonstrated the ability to be in two places at once. That's a miracle. That's the type of miracles we bring you here in Shot Clock, right, Kieran?
That's right, sir. Bye. That's right. Keep right. We're coming with something new as well next week or two. We're going to have Ogie's mixer. We'll explain all.
I can't wait. Best of luck. Thanks a million.
Good luck.
Yeah, there's one we made earlier that was Shot Clock recorded yesterday, but obviously something happened last night in the NBA. Owen, what happened?
Well, to be fair, your Steph Curry takes kind of lasted. If you just got rid of the injury update at the start, you might have been like, yeah, saw it coming all day long. And Steph put up 47 points last night in a losing effort for Golden State Warriors. I think it's the second biggest points tally by anybody in a losing effort in, I don't know, the playoffs or the finals. LeBron put up 51 once in a losing effort, and plenty of memes around the internet this morning of people saying, oh, Steph just can't do it without his teammates, and LeBron playing a very small violin, considering he's had to put up with that through pretty much all his Cleveland career. Raptors have gone 2-1 up, a huge win in Oakland last night. Danny Green, the former Spurs player, was absolutely amazing. There was a couple of threes that they shot that should never go in. They shouldn't be close. That being said, it was healthy enough in the end. I don't have the exact score in front of me.
120, 109 or something like that. It was around about a 10, 11 point victory.
Yeah, basically I think Warriors score so far have been 109, 106, 109. So basically it's a situation where Raptors are just, despite the fact that they have one of the best defensive players we've ever seen in the NBA in Kawhi Leonard, they're just focusing on hitting 110 every night, and they're going to win this series, which I did not see coming. I was thinking to myself, it's Golden State. This could be 4-0.
Because of the injuries, or
because it's Golden State, and also
no, because
but now we're in a situation where the Durant thing wasn't clear a couple of weeks ago about whether or not he would play in the finals, and
it looks like he's out for the whole thing.
Yeah, it's not looking good. Like he had an ice pack strapped to his ankle as he was high-fiving his teammates coming into the locker room last night. So I don't know what the exact latest is on that. The Klay Thompson thing is obviously huge as well. But I do think that the whole take that Golden State are better without Kevin Durant is a bit of a nonsense at the moment.
Well, it was grand up until now. Now they need him. But that's the perfect finish to his story there. It was like MVP of 2 finals in a row, and then he's out for a little while, and they didn't need him in anyway, and then he comes back in and has to save the day. Like
that would be the way I see
narrative. That would be an amazing end to his time there, because it looks like that's definitely going to happen this summer. Anyway, we've been asking you to enter our Father's Day Brown Thomas sunglasses competition. They've got a special offer on sunglasses, 20% off until this Sunday on brownthomas.com or in any of their shops. And if you were to share with us a story about your own experience of going to a sports event with your dad, or your ma, or whoever, then you could enter our competition. And we've had many entries, some of them great, some of them really interesting. This one from Digger on Digger on Twitter says, my dad pushed me under the wire in Fitzgerald Stadium at my first Munster final. He stayed in the terrace, but I was in the pitch alongside the sideline. He was making sure I got through the wire. Didn't matter who was frowning. Great memories of Spillane being a foot from me.
That's a class one. That's real trust in the kid to find his way around the pitch and find his way back
eventually,
to his father in the end.
You just have to sit in the stand, he'll find you after about 20 minutes. Any day out at football in Croker, says Ruth, with my dad is a great day and ones I always cherish. I may be bred in Dublin, but I'm a Mayo supporter by heart because that's who I've always gone to watch and support with my old man. Hashtag OTB AM, hashtag BT Sunglasses. Now, I think your dad and Nathan Murphy are infecting their children with the support of Mayo football when by rights you should all be Dublin supporters. And imagine all the good days out you would have had as opposed to the heartbreak you've experienced. But I love the story, Ruth. Thanks for sharing it. Seamus says, 1995 Munster final when Clare beat Limerick. I remember being in Clare Castle that night after we got home from the game to welcome the team in and hear Anthony Daly's speech from the top of the bus shelter. Never saw my dad so excited or emotional. I've never heard of a Daly speech on the bus shelter back in Clare Castle on the night of the game. So I wonder if there's footage of that anywhere. That'd be good to see. Veronica says, my dad used to go to a local point-to-point. The first day he asked me to come along with him was the biggest and best surprise ever for me. He even let me choose a horse. Didn't win. We shared many events, But that was special. I know you'll have better stories, but that's mine. I know. Veronica, that's great. The bit where it's a surprise and that you always remembered it is class. Conor Whelan's been in touch to say, my dad took me to Anfield for an Arsenal game back in 1980. Liverpool were 1-0 up and my dad wanted to go early to get back to the airport. I refused. Brian Talbot equalised for Arsenal with 3 minutes to go and I cheered. That was the day Johnny Logan won the Eurovision and we watched the vote at a Chinese restaurant near Donecarney. That was the nearest Chinese to us back then, about 10 miles from home. Magic day out.
Matt, I didn't even consider the possibility of soccer or football when you asked me that yesterday about the earliest memory. I just naturally assumed that it had to be Kerry and it had to be Croke Park. 99 Community Shield, Charity Shield back then.
Oh, you went to it?
Yeah, living in London at the time, being the Brit that I am.
So you...
Watching 2-1 to the Arsenal against Manchester United in the old Wembley. One of the last Charity Shields played there before reconstruction, I think. Or maybe there was one or two after that. But yeah, I don't remember a whole pile about it, but certainly remember being there. That's
good game.
I couldn't tell you. Haven't an absolute notion.
Any idea who scored?
No clue.
Right.
No clue whatsoever. All I remember is a 2-1 to the Arsenal chance, which was, of course, came from the previous hit, 1-0 to the Arsenal. But yeah, they're a good shout. You just naturally assume, well, it had to be GEA, but actually it wasn't.
No, it could be anything. Whatever you want. Whatever you want. Could be a training session. Whatever you want.
Did you go to a training session before a match?
Oh, well, my dad was the local coach of like almost every hurling team in the
Oh, right.
So I went to lots of training sessions.
Like, do you remember them vividly?
Yeah, because you're poking around, like trying not to get hit, but frequently getting hit.
How good a hurler were you?
Not very good.
So it's starting pretty early. I mean, picking that touch up as like from an age where it's your earliest memory.
I lack the killer instinct.
I do forget that we actually did play hurling for a video there a couple of years ago, and I don't remember you being any better than the rest of us. So actually,
no, I was way better than the rest of you. I mean, that wasn't even close.
We need to put that to the test again, I think.
Happy to do that. Absolutely happy to do that. Right, it's time for the most controversial segment on this show. It's one prick in his crappy list. Is that what the name of this is?
I don't know why you're talking about controversial. Like, is like Einstein's theory of relativity controversial? Being the fact that it's heavily well researched, completely correct, is bulletproof against anything that may scientifically disprove it. That is what this list is.
It also
controversial is not a word you could use.
It also leads to the creation of the nuclear bomb. You know, so go on, come on, give us your power rankings, Owen.
Let's bring up the start of our power rankings. We've got movements here this week. So there's non-movers from New York in 33 all the way up to Sligo in 28. We'll forget about them for the time being. The biggest droppers this week, Limerick at 27. The people you've been beating the drum for over the past couple of weeks, sure, lo and behold, succumb to a defeat against Cork, which is becoming of a team ranked around 27th in the country. They could drop further, and in fact I would expect them to drop further. They're down 3 places after their 3-18 to 6-point defeat against Cork. As a result of that, we've got two risers. Wicklow and Waterford have both leapfrogged them, and Carlow, if you move on to number 24, have also gone up, allowing for Limerick's 3-point drop. Now we've got non-movers again at 23 all the way through to 18, as we can see. Tipperary, Offaly, Louth, Longford, Derry and Down. Clare have dropped 1 place to 17 after their defeat to Kerry. It wasn't really as a result of that defeat to Kerry. It's more because we've got another riser coming up in the next page. Westmeath also down 1, and Westmeath and Clare are making room for Cork, who are up to the top 15 after that incredible... Well, I don't want to say incredible. It was an absolute just trouncing of Limerick, putting up a score that a lot of people I don't think expected them to be capable of doing, but it is a score that they put up, and it is a score that showed that perhaps they're a lot better than a Division 3 team, something that I suspect myself. I think we're in for a good Munster final. Laois on mover at 14, Fermanagh down 1 at 13, and then Kildare make their move up 1 to 12 after their win against Longford. Not amazing Kildare, I think it's fair to say, but amazing enough for them to leapfrog Fermanagh. Fermanagh, I must say, are actually just down 1. They obviously lost to Donegal in fairly unimpressive fashion in their game in Ulster. I've kept Armagh at 11, Meath at 10 and Cavan at 9 in the same order. Cavan obviously and Armagh drew. You suggested last week that Armagh should be ahead of Meath. I presume your opinion hasn't changed that much as a result of the draw against Cavan. I just think Meath's win over Carlow in their last match in Leinster was very impressive. I just think that the score that they put up in that game, the ease with which they coasted through the next round of Leinster was extremely impressive, and I'd be very, very interested now to see what lies ahead for this Meath team.
Cavan and Armagh should be level this week.
So what, do you drop Cavan down to 10? Or do you drop Armagh, or do you bring Armagh up to 10?
I bring Armagh up to joint 9th. 9-9 equal.
You can't do that. There's always a difference between these sides.
You can totally do it.
Let's face it here. On any other day, Cian Mackey's last second attempt would have just sailed over the bar.
That's not how it works.
I know.
They didn't do it.
It does. It is kind of how it works. Like one draw does not an equal footing make, as the old adage goes.
It literally does. It literally does exactly that. In the knockout situation of the Ulster Football Championship, a draw after extra time means a replay, means they're level now in the power rankings.
You really have no concept of what a power ranking is. You're basically saying one draw means that teams are the same.
Armagh,
one draw, one occasion.
Are the same right now. Right now, this week, before they play again next week, they're the same.
Not like...
And one is ahead of Meath and one is behind Meath.
One of them beat a Division 1 team in the Ulster Football Championship this year.
One of them just drew with a Division 1 team.
Beat
a
non-Division 1 team.
Or Meath, whoever they beat. Who was it? Was it Carlow?
It was Carlow, but they trounced them.
Okay.
They trounced them. It was such a good performance for me that day.
This is nothing against Meath. It's just against your crappy way of working things out.
Well, they're fully correct. We're going to move on to the last page, and there might be controversy here. We've got non-movers at 8, which is Roscommon. Monaghan staying put at 7. Donegal set at 6. Galway at 5. Mayo at 4. And by default, really, we've got Tyrone at number 2 because Kerry have dropped down to number 3 after an extremely unimpressive win against Clare. Really, this whole thing is pointless. All you've got is Dublin at number 1, who are not going to be beaten for Sam Maguire this year. It might be even easier than last year, but hey, we've got to do this. We've got to put somebody in at number 2. Congratulations, Tyrone. You're the best team that's not going to win the All-Ireland this year.
Mayo way too high, and yara. Come on, how many countless years have there been a struggle against Limerick, Limerick almost beat Kerry, and then Kerry come out and blitz team in the next round. Like Kerry are...
Well, what year are you talking about here? What year are you talking about?
All the way back to the 1990s.
Exactly. And what wasn't happening in the 1990s? Dublin weren't utilising their resources to the maximum of their potential. They didn't have one of the all-time great teams.
They should still be second.
I'm not sure about that. I think I think it's a very good comparison comparing Tyrone's performances in Ulster, given the opposition that they come up against, because they played Derry and Antrim, to Kerry coming up against Clare. Like they're not
Tyrone a game.
They did to a point, but then they played.
5 minutes left to go.
Then they went out against Antrim and were very impressive in attack. Far more impressive in attack than Kerry were in attack. Kerry looked sloppy. They looked lethargic. They looked inaccurate.
They looked like they had a training session the day before to keep everybody, keep them on the long grass.
For now, they're the third best team in the country. But again, it doesn't matter because all that matters is none of them are going to win the All-Ireland.
After suffering a shock defeat to Andy Ruiz Jr. over the weekend, Andy Lee discussed what the future holds for Anthony Joshua and whether he's now become a laughingstock. Here's a clip from Off the Brawl.
After the fight, I watched an interview with Jerry Shizora outside the ring, and it's maybe a 40-second interview with IFL, and they're like, Dillian, what's your reaction? And he was like, I blame a lot of people for this. I blame a lot of people. This wouldn't have happened if it was in England. He's a laughingstock now. And that is the reality. That because not that he didn't lose to Fury, he didn't lose to Wilder, he lost to Andy Ruiz, and people are only going to look at Andy Ruiz. They're not going to look at the boxing record. They're not going to look at his skills or that. They're going to look at this guy who's obese, who's short, and he's really nice. And that's who beat up Anthony Joshua. You know, this knockout artist, this knockout machine from England, you know, and it's...
Yeah. On his US debut.
This is like, I'm not sure if he'll ever face this. I don't know if he's in, like, Manu told me, like, and he's been compared now to Vladimir, who's had big losses like this against guys who's supposed to be. But Emmanuel told me when he's, like, after the Brewster loss for Vladimir, like, they were walking down the street in New York with Vladimir. I think they were announcing the Sammy Peter fight, which was the following fight. And like Emmanuel was very well known. So this homeless guy comes up to Emmanuel, and Vladimir's saying, "Oh, Emmanuel Stewart, great to see you, great to meet you." Blah blah blah. "Oh, Klitschko, man, you're a bad motherfucker. You're bad. This and that, you know." That was a great fight with Lennox Lewis, and Emmanuel said, "No, that's his brother." And he's like, "Man, you got your ass beat, man. You ain't like," and Emmanuel just said, like, Vladimir just went, like, he just shrunk, you know, like shrunk down to, and that's probably what Andy Joshua, like, he's maybe probably still in New York now, who knows, but when he walks around the street, when he sees somebody, no, people are going to be having a little laugh behind his back, people are going to be like, and that's the reality of things.
Yeah, great stuff there from Andy Lee on Off the Ball. You can get that on all of our social channels. Subscribe at youtube.com/Off the Ball. Phil is here. Before we get into the day's sports news, I want to just remind everybody that BMW and Triathlon Ireland are challenging the OTB team to #Try for Pieta this summer and raise funds for Pieta House. So we've all got out there, we've been doing our stuff, we've been practicing away. For more information, check out triathlonireland.com. You'll see the link for more info on #Try for Pieta. BMW, proud partner of Triathlon Ireland, and is the title sponsor of the BMW Triathlon National Series, 17 of the most exciting triathlon races in Ireland. And it turns out doing a triathlon is easier than you think, especially if you can rope some other people in to do it for you. I'm going to play you this motivational video here from Adrian Barry last night.
Wow, what a stunning night for a swim, has to be said. Absolutely beautiful. The water actually not as cold as you might think, and managed to get the distance done tonight as well, so I'm absolutely buzzing about that. But just beautiful. Look at how gorgeous it is out there. Water not feeling that bad. Got the distance done, feeling pretty good. Life is good. Listen, I'm not that mad. Didn't do it down there. Did it here though. Did get the distance. I wonder is it too early to start tapering off just yet? Malloy, Murphy, Sheehan, coming for you.
It's quaking in my boots. Can you hear the sound of the quaking happening in my boots? That is a terrifying prospect. Adrian swimming pool session.
How long is it going to take you to do 20k? Cycle. What do you think?
What's a good time for 20k?
Probably
because
about,
it's not going to be that.
Probably about half an hour or 40 minutes, I think, would be a good time. What?
That's not even going to be close to that.
What do you think?
Like 80 minutes?
80 minutes?
It could be.
I know, it couldn't be 80 minutes. It won't be. Honestly, it won't.
There's a few hills that will take you down a bit as well.
You'd run 20k in 80 minutes.
Would you?
You might walk it, I mean.
Would you?
How long are you going to do?
5k. It could be about 20 minutes.
He will run that faster than you will cycle.
It's pretty embarrassing, isn't it?
Yeah, so how long do you think it'll really take? What have you been doing?
Haven't really done anything, to be quite honest with you.
What happened, Owen? So you went out for a cycle last night?
I broke my bike.
What?
The bike is broken.
It's an unbreakable bike. It's like it's an amazing piece of kit.
I definitely feel it's kind of like user error or something like that.
I'd say so.
It's kind of like when you break a computer by clicking on a dodgy virus. I think it's kind of what I did. I'm a terrible cyclist. I can't use my gears. It's like this doesn't feel right, but I don't really know which direction they go, so I'm just going to keep pedaling this thing no matter how painful it is. And maybe that actually isn't the smartest way. And so I said I may as well actually go out on a bike because it's been like 2 weeks since I've used it, the one time I've used it. And sure enough, the chain just doesn't work. My legs were actually spinning quicker than they've ever spun. And it was because there was nothing going.
Did you try and fix it?
Well, I got off it. I can't fix it. But
you're not going to puncture a repair kit as well. You'll need that for the day.
I think there's a puncture repair kit somewhere. Like, being the least mechanical person that's ever lived, I will do extremely well to get around that course in whatever, maybe 100 minutes.
I know you'll do it. So I did 10k last night. I did it in half an hour. 65 minutes. I think you'll be fine. That's like, it's not a good time. It's not a bad time. You'll be fine.
Yeah. Well, the main thing is we're all training.
Okay. Well, good for you. Yeah. Good for the 5 of you. Good to see that.
I get the 3 of us.
Well, at least it'll be 3 more triathletes or 3 more healthy people. I'm going to stick to checkers or something, or I don't know, Minecraft.
Right.
Doing cartwheels.
We'll get to more Anthony Joshua stuff in a moment. We'll start with the Republic of Ireland squad. They're obviously in Copenhagen. They're going to train at the Parken Stadium this evening, which is the match venue for tomorrow's Euro 2020 qualifier against Denmark. The same venue that Ireland drew 0-0 in 2017 in the first leg of the World Cup playoff. Obviously, the last time Ireland were in Denmark, it was a 0-0 draw in Aarhus. The two sides know each other obviously very well. 4 meetings in less than 2 years. All 0-0 draws apart from that 5-1 win for Denmark at the Aviva in the second leg of the World Cup playoff in 2017. Denmark defender Mathias Jorgensen is expecting the same old Ireland to turn up. Danish midfielder Thomas Delaney, who's described as primitive before, says Ireland are the most annoying international team in football. However, Irish defender Shane Duffy believes things could be different now because Mick McCarthy's in charge.
The manager said that from we first come in, he wants to play his way and our way, and worry about us more than other teams. So that's the approach. Hopefully we take and go out there and put our stamp on the game, and that's what I mean. Go for it. And as I said before, we got to have the winning mentality in the group, and I think that's what we have.
Remember, Ireland warmed up for this game by losing to the under-21s, and Stephen Kenny side are back in action this evening. Second game in the Toulon tournament. They face Mexico, having beaten China, and that game kicks off at 6:30. At 7:45 then, it's England and the Netherlands in the second of the Nations League semi-finals. Dutch manager Ronald Koeman expects Virgil van Dijk and Gini Wijnaldum to both start. He's talked to them about their fitness. As for England boss Gareth Southgate, he is probably going to throw in a few less experienced players. 7 England players in the squad were involved in Saturday's Champions League final in Madrid. Jordan Henderson didn't train with them yesterday, and a lot of the talk before the game, unfortunately, unsavoury scenes in Porto last night. England fans clashed with the police. The FA has released a statement to condemn the scenes. They said anyone responsible for these disturbances cannot be seen as true England supporters and are not welcome in football. They're an embarrassment to the team and the thousands of well-behaved fans. The winners of tonight's game will play Portugal. Portugal beat Switzerland 3-1 last night, a hat-trick from Cristiano Ronaldo. Neymar will not be playing in the Copa America due to an ankle ligament injury. He left their 2-0 friendly win over Qatar last night on crutches. So Brazil won 2-0. They obviously host the Copa America kick-off against Bolivia on the 14th of June. I know you were talking to Andy Mitten about transfer targets. It looks like United's first transfer will be confirmed today. Daniel James is set to undergo a medical at United. He's got permission to leave the Wales camp to complete his move from Swansea. About £15 million with add-ons, which could take it up to 18 million. He's agreed personal terms already. There was talk that he might go to Brighton because of the Graham Potter link, but looks like he's going to be United's first signing. Certainly looks like a change of plan.
And I think Man United fans will welcome that they'll sign a bunch of these players, take a couple of years, and if they start signing the superstars again, that the superstars will be on market value as opposed to Alexis Sanchez value.
Yeah, now something has to change anyway. Whatever they're doing ain't working. All of the remaining quarterfinals will take place at the French Open today. It was a complete washout at Roland Garros yesterday. Defending women's champion Simona Halep goes up against Amanda Anisimova from 10 a.m. The other quarterfinals sees Madison Keys take on Ashley Barty. Men's top seed Novak Djokovic plays Alexander Zverev of Germany, and Austria's Dominic Thiem meets Karen Khachanov of Russia. Now, you played the clip there of Andy Lee talking about Anthony Joshua. Well, Tyson Fury was actually quite supportive of Joshua straight after the fight. He tweeted to say, you know, he's not a big fan of kicking people when they're down, but the dust has settled a bit, and Fury obviously preparing for his own fight. He takes on unbeaten German Tom Schwarz on the 15th of June in Las Vegas, and to promote that fight he was speaking to ESPN Radio, and he certainly didn't hold back in his criticism of Anthony Joshua.
Can you imagine you're built like an Adonis? You're 6'6", you're ripped, you're carved in stone, and a little fat guy who's at every Snicker and Mars bar in the whole of California comes in there and bladders you all over. What a disgrace.
Man.
Tyson Fury was here.
Those are strong words.
That was me. I'd never show my face in public ever again.
Yeah. It was interesting as well, actually. He did break down the fight, and he thought Joshua just didn't look like he wanted to be there. You know, he's had his home comforts, didn't look like he was ready. He said he noticed actually he wasn't even sweating as he walked out, and he said he obviously hasn't done the proper warm-up. He's going to get knocked out. This is what Fury claims. He was watching the fight with all his team in his hotel in Las Vegas, and he said Joshua was going to lose this fight.
All right.
Former Australia international Israel Folau is seeking substantial remedies after being sacked for a homophobic social media post. He had his contract terminated by Rugby Australia. He's launched legal action, and he is claiming his employment was unlawfully terminated. He said no Australian of any faith should be fired for practicing their religion, and a case has been filed with Australia's Fair Workplace Commission. And just finally, obviously the US Golf Open next week. Rory McIlroy, Shane Lowry, Paul Carrington, Seamus Power and Graham McDowell are all in action at the Canadian Open later on today.
Okay, I want to just play you this. This is Warm Your Heart. It's from Donaghy Boyle. It's from the Meath versus Kildare junior football match, and I think it must have been last night. So who's this sub wandering on to kick 3 points? The unmistakable Johnny Doyle. Look at that. Coming off the bench, kicking 3 points, age 41, still got it.
That's what Kieran Donaghy was talking about all along.
They should stick him back in the team. Seamus Egan on Twitter, who entered our competition, who watched Anthony Daly's speech from the top of a bus shelter in 1995. Obviously, he was on the top of the bus shelter, not Anthony Daly, as I had incorrectly surmised earlier on. We will be in touch. You are our winner today. Right now, you can receive 20% off the biggest selection of sunglasses at Brown Thomas and brownthomas.com. Father's Day at Brown Thomas, for everything he really wants. This is what great gifting really looks like. Give him the perfect pair of shades this Father's Day. That's pretty much all we've got time for. We're back live on the radio tonight from 7 o'clock on News Talk and across all of our social channels. The new Off the Brawl is live. More of that good stuff from Phil and Andy Lee and Ronan Mullen. And I think you might have noticed that there's a signed Joshua Ruiz. That's Katie Taylor's signature on the front cover of that as well. As ever, if you missed any of the show, you can watch it back on offtheball.com or on YouTube every morning. We have an audio-only stream, so this can be part of your day if you just go around, hit the listen button, and we'll be a radio show with a background for you shortly after we wrap the show up. It's obviously up as a podcast as well on wherever it is that you get your podcasts. We will see you tomorrow. Bright-eyed and bushy-tailed, Adrian Barry is in the hot seat, and there'll be more Love Island chat where Owen explains to Adrian what it's all about. Good luck.